Chapter 1249. Kaka, little brother, take a look. Did fellow Taoist Lu and the others say anything? Of course, Xiaohua raised his eyes and swept his gaze over. Although the several people from before had surrounded the two of them, they were all far away from the twin blue bears. Their faces also carried a trace of contempt, as if they disdained to be associated with them. The face of the girl at the side was pale, and she said softly, "This. Fellow Taoist, I'm really sorry for dragging you into this. This is a fireball talisman. I'll have to trouble you. If something happens to me, please hit me. I'll be eternally grateful." As she spoke, she handed over a yellow talisman brimming with vital energy fluctuations. Xiaohua frowned slightly and reached out to receive it. The girl's eyes were filled with gratitude as she said, "Fellow Taoists, yeah, these twin blue bears have always been lecherous, taking pleasure in torturing corpses. Fellow Taoist, no need to say anything more." As she spoke, she patted her waist and took out several yellow talismans. She gave a few to Xiaohua and said, "Fellow Taoist, these are several yellow talismans. Please accept them. You and I are now fighting side by side. At that time, we shared a common hatred. I don't know how many yellow talismans fellow Taoist has, so I'll use them first." Looking at the yellow talismans in his hand, Xiaohua almost wanted to laugh bitterly. His magic power was at the first level of the aura refining realm. He didn't know if he could activate these yellow talismans. But thinking about it, this girl was at the 5th level of the aura refining realm. She probably knew he could use them. So he nodded slightly. His right hand took a yellow talisman and held it in front of his chest. His left hand took out several others and placed them to the side. Seeing the two people take out yellow talismans, the twin blue bears didn't hesitate. They patted their hands and similarly took out 2 yellow talismans. With a wave of their hands, the yellow talismans transformed into an earthen yellow brilliance that enveloped the two people. These yellow talismans were different from the golden bell talisman from before. They didn't form a light barrier. Instead, they stuck to the two people's bodies and disappeared without a trace. "Iron cloak talisman," the girl muttered. "This high-grade yellow talisman must have been bought by this guy at a high price." "High-grade yellow talisman?" Hearing the girl's words, Xiaohua couldn't help but stare blankly. He inwardly said, "This thing probably spent a lot of spirit stones on the market." However, at this moment, the twin blue bears were already within 3 meters. "Man, you, look at my yellow talisman." Xiaohua snorted and sent the meager amount of magic power in his body into the yellow talisman. With a flick of his hand, the talisman immediately exploded and a large fireball appeared with a bang. The surrounding world's origin energy swarmed over. Looking at the fireball, it was at least 3 to 4 times smaller than the one that the girl had released. Following Xiaohua's gesture, the fireball flew towards the twin bears. "Ha ha ha!" Pylon and the twin bears laughed so hard that they almost bent over. Even the people around them covered their mouths. Indeed, how big would you expect a first-layer qi refining disciple to shoot out a fireball? But just as everyone was laughing at him, Xiaohua slapped his left hand, and a flying talisman appeared on his body. With a burst of magic power, his figure followed the fireball and charged towards one of the 2 pylon bears. "Oh my god, someone who doesn't know the difference between life and death actually came knocking on my door?" The twin blue bears leaned forward as if they didn't care. They had iron cloak talismans on their bodies, which absolutely couldn't be broken by a low-level qi refining disciple. However, Xiaohua's flying speed was very fast. The twin blue bears didn't feel anything when facing Xiaohua, but the 4 people next to him were flabbergasted. "Ah! How can he be so fast?" Even the girl behind Xiaohua was flabbergasted. This speed was far from what she could match. Everyone was astonished. The twin blue bears were even more caught unprepared. When Xiaohua approached them, even though the twin blue bears' eyes were somewhat flustered, they were still full of ridicule. Xiaohua also didn't neglect them. As soon as he arrived in front of one of the twin blue bears, he immediately raised his hand and grabbed the arm of one of the twin blue bears. That person stared blankly, and his face became even more disdainful. Not to mention the iron cloak talismans on his body and the true chi protecting his body, he wasn't afraid of the martial arts on his hands and feet. One of the reasons why the twin blue bears were called bears was because these two people had cultivated body refining techniques and martial arts with their fists and feet. One of the twin blue bears waved his hand, wanting to block Xiaohua's hand, but Xiaohua's hand moved in an unknown way and unexpectedly dodged his hand. That seemingly very delicate hand still grabbed his arm. In an instant, an incomparably huge force was transmitted from the twin blue bear's arms. "Io, this is bad." Although that person didn't know what was going to happen next, he already had a vague feeling in his heart that something was wrong. Sure enough, just as he was thinking that something bad was going to happen, a fist suddenly appeared in front of his eyes. Pa pa pa, this fist instantly struck the twin blue bears' faces 3 times in a row. The twin blue bears who were struck by Xiaohua's fists let out blood-curdling screams. It seemed that the first punch had already caused them to suffer heavy injuries, and the following 2 punches were even more frightening. Xiaohua's fists, without exception, struck the same place on the twin blue bears' faces. It was merely 2 punches, but the twin blue bears' faces actually emitted a burst of chaotic brilliance. Voila, a crisp sound rang out. It was actually the sound of the iron cloak talisman being broken. This crisp sound was extremely weak, and also extremely familiar. However, in everyone's ears, it was no different from a sudden clap of thunder in the sky. With merely 2 punches, this youngster actually broke a high-level iron cloak talisman. Was this the cultivation of a first-level chi refining cultivator? In an instant, everyone thought of something else. "I'll leave it to you, little girl." Xiaohua let out a long laugh, then turned around and flew towards the other twin blue bears. His flying speed was even faster. This speed confirmed some people's thoughts. The girl cried out in delight, "Yes, senior." As she spoke, the sword talisman in her hand moved again. A long sword flew towards the twin blue bears whose iron cloak talisman had been broken. Xiaohua turned around, and without any pretense, he casually raised his fist and smashed it towards the other twin blue bears. That person was already terrified. He thought that Xiaohua was a nascent soul cultivator who had concealed his cultivation level. How could he still dare to fight back? He cried out, "Senior, please spare me." His figure flew up, desperately flying backwards. The instant he flew up, Xiaohua's fist also arrived. It hit his waist. This time, Xiaohua's strength was even greater. He had used up all his strength. With a crisp "walla" sound, that iron cloak talisman was broken in one fell swoop. "Run!" The 4 spectators no longer dared to hesitate. They glanced at each other, then scattered and flew away. As for the twin blue bears that the girl's sword talisman attacked, although their defenses were broken by Xiaohua, they had already used their flying talismans. When the small sword attacked, they flew into the air. "Where do you think you're going?" Xiaohua shouted. He turned around and seemed to chase after that person. His fist also flew over. That person's face had already changed color. He didn't dare to stay any longer and fled without looking back. "You want to run? It's not that easy," the girl shouted. She also used her flying talisman. Her figure jumped up, and she was just about to chase. How could Xiaohua let her chase? He hurriedly pulled her hand, looked around, picked a direction, and flew away. "Senior." When the girl saw Xiaohua grab her wrist, her face flushed red. She wanted to break free, but then she calmed down and said in a low voice, "Senior, why didn't you kill the twin blue bears? They are extremely notorious in this area." How could Xiaohua have the time to explain to her? Just now, he also took a risk and tested his strength. Sure enough, he was able to break the twin blue bears' so-called high-grade iron cloak talisman. It gave them the misconception that he was a great expert and could defeat them with just his body. But there were many flaws in this. If he carefully thought about it, how could he not know? Presumably, the 6 of them would wake up as soon as they flew halfway. Xiao Hua's flying speed was very fast. They might not be able to catch up, but this girl was different. Xiao Hua could only take advantage of the fact that the 6 of them were still confused and quickly pull this girl away. The further the better. The girl didn't understand Xiao Hua's actions, but he was a nascent soul, senior. He was enough to be her grandmaster. How could she dare to ask more? However, under the pull of the nascent soul stage senior's hand, the young lady felt an enormous force pulling her along. The speed of their flight was indeed much faster than hers. However, after flying for 2 hours, the young lady felt that something was wrong. This nascent soul senior's flying speed was admittedly fast, but it didn't seem to be as awesome as she had imagined. Moreover, it seemed that Foundation establishment seniors all used magic tools to fly. Why did this senior keep using flying talismans? And the most important thing was that this nascent soul senior actually only used his magic power to protect her body. It wasn't as she had imagined, to protect her as well. It seemed he didn't have any intention of taking care of her. Another 2 hours passed. Xiao Hua, this nascent soul senior, actually reached out and took out a flying talisman from his bosom. With a wave of his hand, he slapped it on his body. He actually replaced the flying talisman that had just lost its spiritual energy. This time, the girl really didn't understand the situation. Nascent soul senior still needs to rely on flying talismans to fly? The girl pondered for a moment and asked in a low voice. Unexpectedly, Xiao Hua simply ignored her. He only lowered his head and looked all around as if he was looking for something. Soon after, his face lit up with joy and his figure flew down. The girl followed the direction of his descent and saw that it was a mountain range. Xiao Hua brought the girl to the ground and found a secluded place. It was precisely a place that was blocked by several mountain rocks and couldn't be seen from the sky. Only then did he loosen his hand and take the lead to walk over. Upon seeing this, the girl slightly hesitated. Standing in front of the mountain rocks, she bowed and saluted. Junior Luyang's Kaizhuxia greets Senior. Senior, thank you for saving my life. Xiao Hua saw her appearance and knew that Kaizhuxia was worried about him. He couldn't help but laugh inwardly. The one who should be worried should be me. Kaizhuxia had been secretly sizing up Xiao Hua all along. Seeing a smile at the corner of Xiao Hua's mouth, she immediately said, Senior, perhaps you haven't heard of Luyang's Kai clan, but I'm sure you've heard of Qingyuan's Kai clan. Senior, please know that my Luyang's Kai clan is a branch of Qingyuan's Kai clan. Soon after, she said somewhat awkwardly, but, because we haven't been in contact for a long time, and there hasn't been a Foundation establishment cultivator in the clan for a long time, so, clan? Xiao Hua stared blankly. Chapter 1250. Senior. Could it be that you don't believe Junior? Kaizhuxia couldn't help but smile bitterly. Junior knows that Senior must come from a famous sect and is a famous nascent soul cultivator on the Dawn Rain continent. Of course, you look down on cultivator families like us. Not to mention, my Luyang Kai clan is only a cultivator family, so we can't enter Senior's eyes. But, my Qingyuan Kai clan also once had an ancestor who was an elder of the Kunlun sect. Even now, the Kunlun sect often selects disciples from my Kai clan. It's just that my Luyang Kai clan hasn't had an outstanding disciple for a long time, so we lost our precious quota. Junior. Kaizhuxia stopped speaking and stole a glance at Xiao Hua's expression. Hearing Kaizhuxia say so much in one breath and not letting him speak, Xiao Hua more or less understood the meaning of these so-called cultivator families. They should be one level lower than cultivator sects like Shanghuaming 100 Herbs Gate, but they were much stronger than ordinary families. These families had very deep foundations and their disciples all had very good cultivation aptitudes, so they could cultivate more easily than ordinary people. However, he heard the sect leaders say that there were many cultivators on the Dawn Rain continent who could only cultivate to the aura refining stage. Presumably, these cultivator families were like this. Of course, according to Kai Zhuoxia's meaning, this Kai clan also had some Kunlun sect elders, so they had the capital of, when one person achieves the Tao, even his chickens and dogs can ascend to heaven. This was how they obtained the shelter of their elders and made their clan qualified to cultivate. Seeing that Xiao Hua's expression didn't change, Kai Zhuoxia was somewhat discouraged. She bit her lip and raised her head to look into the distance again. She muttered, "Junior. The reason why I'm telling Senior all this isn't because I have other intentions. It's just that Senior just saved Junior's life. Junior knows that Senior's cultivation base is profound and you don't care about Junior's repayment. However, Junior still wants to ask for Senior's celestial title. I hope Senior will engrave it in my heart so that in the future, if there's a chance, Junior can repay Senior." Towards the end, Kai Zhuoxia's voice had already become much softer. In her cultivation clan, nascent soul cultivators were tantamount to an unattainable existence. Speaking of repayment, how could this be possible? Kai Zhuoxia's original intention was perhaps to get closer to Xiao Hua so that she could have some kind of opportunity in the future. Therefore, her heart felt weak and her voice seemed to float away. Seeing that Kai Zhuoxia had finally finished speaking and was giving him a chance to speak, Xiao Hua smiled bitterly at first. Then, he obediently bowed and said, "Senior, please don't say that. I am not a senior. I'm only at the first layer of the qi refining realm, not some nascent soul cultivator like Senior said. This is impossible." Kai Zhuoxia covered her mouth in surprise. Although she had doubts just now, she had already dispelled them in her heart. Now that she heard it with her own ears, how could she still believe it? "Senior, you should come over. If you are seen by the Blue Bear duo again, I'm afraid we won't be able to scare them this time." Xiao Hua looked at the mountain rock above his head and said somewhat anxiously. Oh, hearing the name, Pylon Twin Bears, Kai Zhuoxia felt a chill run down her spine. In addition, Xiao Hua was only a first-layer aura refining disciple who didn't enter the sect. Compared to her own fifth-layer aura refining cultivation, Kai Zhuoxia walked in without hesitation. "Are you really in the first layer of qi refining? You. Which sect are you from? With such a low cultivation level, why did the sect send you out alone? Why don't you follow a senior brother with a high cultivation level? Where are you going?" Kai Zhuoxia stood not far from Xiao Hua. Her eyes were wide open as she curiously looked at this young man whose cultivation level really couldn't be brought to the table. Xiao Hua was somewhat embarrassed. He didn't expect Kai Zhuoxia to say so much to herself just now, and now unexpectedly ask so many questions in one breath. Moreover, he still remembered fellow Daoist Li's words from last night, so he didn't want to answer any of these questions. After thinking for a moment, Xiao Hua said, "Didn't Senior already see that Junior's cultivation level is indeed at the first layer of qi refining? It's just that Junior's strength is great. Just now, Junior took advantage of the Blue Bear duo's carelessness and caught them off guard. Otherwise, when this Junior destroyed the iron cloak talisman of one of the twin bears of Pylon, I should have directly killed him. But, this Junior was afraid of provoking the anger of the other person. If they didn't run and fought with this Junior would definitely be killed. Fortunately, they actually ran away. Junior had no choice but to let them go." Seeing Xiao Hua's helpless expression, as if he was very unwilling to scare them away, she couldn't help but laugh. "I didn't expect your strength to be so great. You were actually able to destroy a high-grade yellow talisman. I really didn't dare to imagine it." Kai Zhuoxia's face was full of smiles. "Moreover, you also flew extremely fast." Speaking up to here, Kai Zhuoxia seemed to have thought of something and her face revealed a pleasant surprise. However, her eyes spun a few times before she said, "Moreover, you flew extremely fast and looked very young. Not only me, but the other 6 people also regarded you as a nascent soul senior." "Ah. But why?" Xiao Hua was somewhat baffled. "What's so strange about that?" Seeing this, Kai Zhuxia smiled and said, "You flew very fast, far surpassing us 5th level aura refining cultivators. If nothing unexpected happened, you should be at least at the 12th level of aura refining. Since you're at the 12th level of aura refining, your age should be at least 30 or 40 years old. However, you look only 16 or 17 years old. If you didn't reconstruct your body when you stepped into nascent soul realm, how could you appear so young? Reconstructing a body in nascent soul realm?" Xiao Hua wrinkled his brows. This was the first time he'd heard of this. Kai Zhuxia seemed to have not forgotten to investigate Xiao Hua's background. She bowed again and said, "No matter what, fellow Taoist still saved my life. I'll remember this favor. In the future, if there's fate, I ask fellow Taoist to come to Luyang's Kai clan." "That's right, fellow Taoist, may I know which mountain range you're a loose cultivator in? If it's appropriate, I'd like to pay a visit to your clan. In addition, there's another matter I want to discuss with fellow Taoist." "Loose cultivator?" Xiao Hua stared blankly. He asked curiously, "What's a loose cultivator?" Indeed, during the 3 years Xiao Hua was at Shanghua Ming, Xiao Yueheng only taught him the first layer of Shanghua Ming's immortal art. There were also many cultivation techniques related to spiritual plants and other cultivation techniques. Regarding the situation of Xiaoyu continent's cultivation world, there was very little information. Furthermore, Gong Mingwei and the other two were even more focused on cultivation. Aside from the new happenings in East City, they very rarely talked to Xiao Hua. It was no wonder that Xiao Hua didn't understand. Could it be? Fellow Taoist isn't a loose cultivator? Kai Zhuxia was even more surprised. She opened her mouth and said, "Since fellow Taoist is from a sect, why is your aptitude speaking up to here?" She felt that it was inappropriate. She hastily covered her mouth and said, "Fellow Taoist, please don't blame me. In the country of Shi's cultivation sects, regardless of their size, their disciples all have extraordinary aptitudes. Their cultivation is all at the 7th level of qi refining and above. I didn't expect that fellow Taoist would still be at the 1st level of qi refining at such an age. Oh, I forgot again. What's fellow Taoist's name? Which sect are you from?" Kai Zhuxia slapped her forehead in realization. Xiao Hua scratched his head. His expression was slightly awkward. He smiled and said, reporting to Senior, "I'm called Xiao Hua. As for which sect, I hope Senior can forgive me. It's not convenient for me to tell you." "Hee, it's fine, it's fine." Kai Zhuxia waved her hand repeatedly. "Fellow Taoist Xiao, please don't mind me. I shouldn't have asked you in detail. It's just that I have something to discuss with fellow Taoist Xiao, so I asked a bit more. However, since fellow Taoist Xiao belongs to a sect, how come you don't even know about loose cultivators?" "Senior, I've just reached the 1st level of qi refining and haven't been accepted into the sect by the sect master. There are many things I don't know," Xiao Hua said with a smile. "Fellow Taoist Xiao, you don't have to call me Senior. You can just call me fellow Taoist." Kai Zhuxia also smiled and said, "Sure enough, your noble sect has its rules. You won't be accepted into the sect unless you're at the 3rd level of qi refining. If you were in my Kai clan, fellow Taoist, although you're only at the 1st level of qi refining, you have the ability to fly and have great strength. You'd certainly be regarded as a pillar." Kai Zhuxia's words were a bit insincere. The 1st level of qi refining was the most basic cultivation level. Even if it was a cultivation clan, with low-level cultivation methods, they could still nurture a person with the same cultivation level as Xiao Hua. How could they regard him as important as she said? Xiao Hua didn't know about this and only nodded slightly. As for loose cultivators, they're cultivators who don't belong to a sect outside of various cultivation sects and cultivation clans. They're cultivators who cultivate alone and don't belong to a sect. "Oh, I understand, fellow Taoist Kai." Xiao Hua nodded. "Then, where do loose cultivators get their cultivation methods?" First, there are cultivation methods. Afterwards, there are loose cultivators. Kaizhuxia said, it's precisely because some people obtained cultivation methods but can't be assigned to a sect that they cultivate alone. Aren't cultivation methods rare in Xiaoyu continent? Where did these loose cultivators get them? Xiao Hua asked curiously. Kaizhuxia glanced at Xiao Hua. He has a sect, so he should know more than her. How could he ask such a superficial question? Xiaoyu continent's cultivation methods are naturally rare. My country's cultivation methods are even rarer. However, this rarer cultivation method refers to cultivation methods that can be cultivated to foundation establishment or even golden core. As for those incomplete cultivation methods or cultivation methods that can only be cultivated to the various levels of qi refining, they can still occasionally appear. Just now, fellow Daoist Xiao encountered Pai Lan, the twin bears, and the others, are all loose cultivators. They just happen to obtain nameless cultivation methods and set foot on the path of cultivation. It's just that their actions are completely based on their own likes and dislikes. They don't follow any rules, which is completely different from fellow Daoist Xiao who has a sect. Xiao Hua understood. Disciples like him have the backing of a sect. They have cultivation methods and resources. They also have senior brothers and senior sisters. All of them have good self-cultivation. They won't act against some cultivators for no reason. After all, they still have to consider whether or not other people will retaliate against their own sect. Their actions and conduct will also be somewhat methodical. But loose cultivators are different. They are all unorthodox. What kind of restrictions are there to speak of? Moreover, the so-called loose cultivators don't have a sect. They don't have any cultivation resources. They completely rely on methods like smashing, and robbing to make a name for themselves. Let alone a cultivation aristocratic family, even if it's a cultivation sect, they won't let go of an opportunity. A qi refining stage cultivator like Kaizhuxia is a good target for loose cultivators to rob. Pai Lan, the twin bears, and the others, aren't they such people? Chapter 1251. By the way, fellow Daoist Xiao, did you come out this time to gain experience? Kaizhuxia asked again. No. Xiao Hua shook his head, I have some matters to attend to. Medicine Farmer Peak. Xiao Hua thought that he might have to ask Kaizhuxia about the location of Medicinal Farmer Peak in a while, so he revealed some information. Oh, fellow Daoist Xiao wants to go to the 100 Herbs Gate. What a pity. Kaizhuxia's tone was a little disappointed, but there was a hint of envy in her eyes. Clearly, this 100 Herbs sect was one of the famous sects in the state of Shi. A pity? Xiao Hua was slightly taken aback and asked curiously, why is that? This. Kaizhuxia was a little hesitant. Since fellow Daoist Xiao has something to do, I don't think it's convenient for you to talk about it. Let's not talk about this matter anymore. Xiao Hua suddenly understood. Just now, Kaizhuxia said that she wanted to talk to him about something, but she didn't say anything. Presumably, it was this MOT matter. And, if it's inconvenient for fellow Kai, there's no need to mention it. Xiao Hua said with a smile. Sigh, actually. Fellow Daoist Xiao would be the most suitable person to handle this matter. It's just that, if you're unlucky, you can't do it. Kaizhuxia still sighed, feeling very regretful. However, if fellow Daoist Xiao is busy now, I wonder if you have time to make a trip to the 1,000 Feet Peak half a year later? 1,000 Zhang Peak, where is it? After Kaizhuxia told him the location, Xiao Hua pondered for a moment. Hearing Kaizhuxia's tone and thinking about the matter of Pai Lan, Shuang Xiong and the others just now, he faintly felt that there was something fishy going on, so he asked, if I can't go down, how about I ask my senior martial brother or senior martial sister to go down? What do you think? Don't. Kaizhuxia's expression changed when she heard that. She quickly waved her hand and said, fellow Daoist Xiao. This matter, is to repay fellow Daoist for saving my life. If fellow Daoist is too busy to go, then so be it. Please allow me to find an opportunity to repay you in the future. Just forget about your sect's elders and elders. Even if they know, they might not go. Xiao Hua nodded and said thoughtfully, fellow Daoist Kai didn't say anything, so, how would I know if it's worth going? Don't worry, fellow cultivator. You're my savior. Although I'm from a cultivation family, I know how to repay kindness. Moreover, I do need a helper to go to the 1,000-feet peak. You're the best helper. Kai Zhuoxia said sincerely. Xiao Hua thought to himself, half a year later, the Peiyuan pill would have been refined long ago, and senior martial brother and senior martial sister's cultivation levels would have also improved. Moreover, the Linglong grass would have just sprouted not too long ago, so the foundation building pill definitely wouldn't be able to be refined. I don't have anything to do on Shihua Peak, so why don't I go with her to 1,000 Peak? Since she has already explained her background, I only need to tell the sect master the whole story half a year later. Even if this Kai Zhuoxia wants to harm me, she still has to consider the safety of her family. Just now, she thought that I was a nascent soul senior, so what she said must be true. Since she said that senior martial brothers won't go, presumably, there won't be too much danger. Thinking up to this point, Xiao Hua cupped his hands and said, "Thank you, fellow Daoist. Since fellow Daoist has the heart, then I'll do my best to go." Hearing this, Kai Zhuoxia was overjoyed. She took out a summoning talisman from her bosom and handed it over, saying, "Fellow Daoist Xiao, please accept this summoning talisman. If you arrive at the 1,000-feet peak half a year later, you can send it out. If fellow Daoist doesn't have time to go, then you can keep it. When you arrive at Luyang Town, send it out and I'll do my best as a host." Xiao Hua accepted it with a smile and put it away. He cupped his hands and said, "Fellow Daoist Kai, I'm in a hurry, so I won't stay here any longer. I don't know if the Pai and Lan duo can find this place. If they can, then fellow Daoist can stay here for a while. The Pai and Lan duo may discover that something is wrong with fellow Daoist Xiao, but all rogue cultivators are cowards. They may not chase after you. Fellow Daoist, please leave. I'll rest for a while and also leave." Kai Zhuoxia cupped her hands and said, "That's good." Xiao Hua nodded. He hesitated for a moment and asked, "I don't know, does fellow Daoist Kai know the location of Medicine Known Peak?" "What?" Kai Zhuoxia was slightly stunned, but she immediately understood. She covered her mouth and laughed, saying, "The direction that fellow Daoist Xiao is leading is precisely towards Medicine Known Peak. When I heard it just now, I thought fellow Daoist Xiao was taking me here in passing." Xiao Hua scratched his head and said embarrassedly, "I'm sorry, I'm indeed lost. From here to Medicine Known Peak is only a few hundred miles away. With fellow Daoist Zhao's flying speed, I'm afraid you'll arrive in a few hours." "Thank you fellow Daoist Kai, we'll meet again someday." Xiao Hua cupped his hands and saluted. He looked around and saw that there were no abnormalities in the sky. He then turned around and looked at Kai Zhuoxia who followed him out. He put a flying talisman on his body and his figure flew like an arrow towards Medicine Known Peak. Seeing that Xiao Hua's speed was much faster than hers, Kai Zhuoxia quietly stood there until Xiao Hua's figure disappeared. She then sighed, "First-level aura refining has this kind of flying speed. Moreover, he's so strong that he can actually break the iron cloak talisman. It's a pity that he's so old. I really don't know if this Xiao Hua is a genius or a good-for-nothing. Alas, this kind of strangeness. I'm afraid he's comparable to little sister. Only, this kind of strange person, which sect does he belong to? There aren't many famous sects in the country of Xi. If I have time, I'll have to carefully investigate." Kai Zhuoxia stood there for a moment. She also took out a flying talisman from her storage pouch and directly flew in another direction. Xiao Hua flew in the air, unable to conceal the excitement in his heart. Last night, when he broke free from the confinement talisman, he already had a faint feeling in his heart that he should have discovered a divine ability that others didn't have, and that was to break through with force. However, last night, he only had a feeling and couldn't confirm it. After all, this kind of divine ability was indeed strange. He'd never heard Xiao Yuehong and the others mention it. And this morning, before he could wake up from his sleep, he was dragged into trouble by Kai Zhuxia. He was only a first-level aura refining disciple. In the eyes of the sixth-level aura refining experts, he wasn't worth mentioning. Moreover, the rogue cultivators wanted to kill Xiao Hua to silence him. Therefore, in a situation where Xiao Hua didn't have any power to fight back, he had no choice but to take the risk and take out the divine ability he just discovered. Fortunately, Xiao Hua's strength wasn't just for show. He really could break through with force and break the iron cloak talisman of the Pai Lan twin bears. Of course, to kill the Pai Lan twin bears on the spot, Xiao Hua still didn't have the strength to do so. Because Xiao Hua used his fists to break the iron cloak talisman of the Pai Lan twin bears, relying on being caught off guard, relying on the other party's carelessness. As long as the other party was on guard and pulled apart the distance, although Xiao Hua's flying speed was extremely fast, if they threw one yellow talisman after another, Xiao Hua would definitely be killed before he could get close. This was also the reason why Xiao Hua didn't dare to rashly kill one of the Pai Lan twin bears, lest it arouse the other party's anger. And most importantly, after Xiao Hua broke the iron cloak talisman of the Pai Lan twin bears, he clearly saw that one of the Pai Lan twin bears' hands had already taken out the other yellow talisman. Therefore, he left this person to Kai Zhuxia, while he himself attacked the other person, giving others the illusion that he was in control of the overall situation, that he was fighting one against two. Sixth level of the Qi refining realm. Xiao Hua's heartbeat sped up. Those are great experts in the middle stage of the Qi refining realm. Actually scared them away. Even if I told second senior martial brother, he wouldn't necessarily believe it. However, using force to break through can only be used as a surprise attack method. It can only be effective when I get close. But normally, when fighting, it's magic power and talismans, how can they let me get close? Therefore, increasing my cultivation is the way of the king. Xiao Hua rolled up his sleeves to show off the muscles on his arms, thinking to himself, Kai Zhuxia actually regards me as a nascent soul stage senior. My goodness, I also don't know if I'll have the opportunity to advance to the foundation establishment stage in this lifetime, let alone the nascent soul stage. They really think too highly of me. Crap, there's someone in front. Xiao Hua saw some brilliance in front of him from afar, as if there were people fighting. He immediately lowered his altitude and hid in a place to watch from afar. In the past, he didn't know what individual cultivators were, but now that he received Kai Zhuxia's guidance, he finally understood. If these cultivators who didn't belong to any school or sect wanted to improve their cultivation, if they didn't seek out other people's misfortune or rob other people's things, how could they improve? That fellow Taoist Chang from before was probably an individual cultivator, right? He actually didn't even let off a first-level Qi refining disciple like himself. Xiao Hua hid for a moment, but when he saw that the flashing brilliance in front of him didn't weaken in the slightest, he knew the fight was still going on. He thought for a moment, looked left and right, and circled around from the side, determined not to get close to them. Just like that, Xiao Hua became cautious. Whenever he sensed any warning signs, he would immediately flee. Unexpectedly, he spent half the time Kai Zhuxia estimated before he arrived in front of a mountain range. During these several hours, Xiao Hua had seen more than 10 Qi refining cultivators. No matter whether their cultivation level was high or low, Xiao Hua felt that these people's faces were engraved with the labels of robbery and silencing. His heart couldn't help but feel uneasy. Even when he arrived in front of this mountain range, 3 second and third level Qi refining cultivators flew out from the mountain range and blocked his path. His heart still skipped a beat, and he inwardly said, crap, how did I end up in front of them? This guy, does he want to take my life? Just when he was thinking about whether he should hide and circle around from the side, or take advantage of their unpreparedness to break through their defenses and kill them, he heard one of the third-level Qi refining cultivators coldly shout, "Which sect's disciple is in front of you? Don't you know this is my 100 Herbs Gate's territory?" 100 Herbs Gate? When Xiao Hua heard this, he was secretly delighted. When he looked at that cultivator again, the bad look on his face had already disappeared, and he appeared very sanctimonious. Strange. Xiao Hua inwardly exclaimed, "Just now, I didn't know this person was a 100 Herbs Gate disciple. I felt that he wasn't safe from head to toe, but after hearing that he's a 100 Herbs Gate disciple, why, do I feel that he won't harm me? This definitely isn't right. Even if they aren't individual cultivators and are 100 Herbs Gate disciples, if I lose my vigilance, the one who will suffer in the end will still be me." As he thought this, Xiao Hua stopped and cupped his hands in salute, saying, "This one is Xiao Hua of Shenghua Ming. I've come to seek an audience with sect leader Jiang on the orders of my sect leader. If you like this work, you're welcome to come to Qidian. Come to vote for it." Chapter 1252. Shang Huaming. The disciple was obviously stunned. He sized Xiao Chen up and down in disbelief before putting on a fake smile and saying, "You say that you are Shang Huaming's disciple. Do you have any proof?" Xiao Hua replied in a manner that was neither haughty nor humble, "When I came down, the sect master had already sent a transmission talisman to your sect. Your sect master Jiang has also seen me before, so he didn't give me a token. You are indeed Shang Huaming's fellow Daoist." When the disciple heard this, his expression unconsciously changed. He cupped his hands and returned the greeting. "I am Chen Feng from the 100 Herbs sect. Earlier, the young sect master had warned me that Shang Huaming's fellow Daoist would come. However, the young sect master only said that he would come in 2 days. I didn't expect fellow Daoist Xiao to come so quickly." Then, he looked behind him and frowned. "The other senior brothers or sisters of your sect didn't come?" Xiao Hua blanked. He thought that Xiao Yuehong had already sent a transmission talisman and told him about his arrival. It seemed that he was wrong. He could only smile and say, "Only I came from my sect. The other senior brothers haven't come out yet." "Ah." Chen Feng was somewhat flabbergasted. He opened his mouth but didn't say anything. Presumably, he wanted to say, "Your Shang Huaming is really at ease. He actually led a disciple at the first level of Qi refining out of the sect. Fellow Daoist Xiao, please wait a moment." As Chen Feng spoke, he took out a yellow talisman from his bosom and sent it with his magic power. The yellow talisman flew out with a whoosh and disappeared without a trace in a few blinks of an eye. Chen Feng smiled and said, "Fellow Daoist Xiao, the young sect master instructed that as long as Shang Huaming's disciple comes, we should inform him immediately. He will definitely come out to welcome you personally." Xiao Hua's face was filled with fear as he hastily said, I don't dare. I am Shang Huaming's disciple who hasn't even entered the sect. How can I deserve to be personally welcomed by your young sect master?" In fact, Chen Feng was also bewildered. He couldn't figure out how a mere first-level Qi condensation cultivator could be worthy of a 12th-level Qi condensation young master's welcome. However, since Jiang Fan had given such an order, how could he disobey? Sure enough, in just a moment, a burst of drum music sounded from the distant mountain peak. Then, a huge red brilliance stretched out from the mountain peak like a rainbow in front of Xiao Hua's eyes. At the same time, a rather large round plate flew along with the red brilliance like lightning. Xiao Hua's eyes were sharp. He had already seen that on the round plate, at the very front was Jiang Fan in black and Jiang Yan in red. Behind them, there were disciples from 2 sections. They were holding strange musical instruments in their hands, and they were making beautiful sounds. After a long distance, Jiang Fan released his divine sense and saw that Xiao Hua was the only one standing in front of Chen Feng. He was just as surprised as Chen Feng was before. He turned to look at Jiang Yan, who was equally surprised, and asked curiously, "Didn't Shang Huaming's sect master Xiao say that he would send his disciples over? Why, don't I see Xiao Xinrui or Gong Mingwei?" What are these disciples doing here? Then, he looked behind Xiaohua. There was no one there. Could it be that the disciple mentioned by Sect Master Xiao is this guy? Jiang Yan's face was ashen. She had dressed up to welcome them, thinking that they were from Xiao Xianrui. Unexpectedly, it was actually a first-level qi condensation kid. Seeing Jiang Yan's expression change greatly, Jiang Fan knew that something was wrong and immediately warned, Yan, be careful. Although this kid hasn't entered the sect, he has always been serving behind Sect Master Xiao. He can be considered Shang Huaming's confidant. Father wants to build a good relationship with Shang Huaming. This kid can't be neglected. Don't lose your temper. Big brother, it's fine if you flatter Xiao Xianrui. I can't say anything. What kind of people are Shang Huaming? One Gong Mingwei, one Zhang Qingxiao. Both of them are only at the 10th level of qi condensation. They are too far away from our 100 Herbs Gates disciples. Father, how could he not know what Sect Master Xiao meant? Why did he ask me to welcome them? Even if it's those two, I can endure it. But this Xiao something, even if he is Shang Huaming's disciple, he is only a first-level qi condensation disciple. How can he be welcomed by two late-stage qi condensation cultivators of our 100 Herbs Gate? Jiang Yan pointed at Xiaohua and said angrily. Forget it, forget it. It's all Big Brother's fault. I thought if Shang Huaming's disciple was coming, it would definitely be Xiao Xianrui. I never thought it would be this guy. Jiang Fan hurriedly said, since we're already here, it's not good to go back halfway. Let's stand here for a while first. As they spoke, the two people's round plates arrived in front of Xiaohua. When Xiaohua saw the two young lords of 100 Herbs Gate coming in person, he was already surprised. He flew forward and bowed in greeting. This one is Xiaohua of Shang Huaming. Greetings to the two young lords. Two seniors coming in person really makes this one panic. Jiang Yan stood on the round plate and ignored him. Her mouth was tight and her eyelids were lowered as if she didn't hear him. Jiang Fan's face was full of spring breeze. He floated down from the round plate and helped Xiaohua up with a smile. Junior Marshal Brother Xiao, it's only been a few days since Shang Huaming left. I didn't expect Sect Master Xiao to send you to our 100 Herbs Gate. It's a pleasure to meet you. Then he pretended to look behind and asked curiously, what? Is Junior Marshal Brother Xiao the only one from your sect who came? Junior Marshal Brother Gong and the others didn't come? Senior Marshal Brother and Senior Marshal Sister are repenting in the Tranquil Heart Cave. It's not time yet, is it? They can't leave the mountain for the time being. I, Shang Huaming, have some other matters to attend to in the mountain these days. Sect Master is busy and can't leave the mountain, so he sent me here. Please forgive me. Xiaohua said sincerely. How could Jiang Fan not know what Shang Huaming had encountered? His face was full of surprise. What kind of trouble has your sect encountered? Could it be the 10,000 Poison sect? Do you need my 100 Herbs Gate's help? Shang Huaming and my 100 Herbs Gate are now allies. If there's anything you need, don't hesitate to ask. Xiaohua smiled. It's a small matter. I, Shang Huaming, can deal with it easily. It's just that the matter is complicated that Sect Master can't leave. If there's a need, I'm sure Sect Master would have already sent a message. That's true. That day, my 100 Herbs Gate found some traces of the 10,000 Poisons sect and even sent a message talisman. Later, when I received your sect's reply, there was no mention of the 10,000 Poisons sect. We were worried for nothing. Jiang Fan said with a smile. Xiaohua frowned slightly. He thought for a moment and said vaguely, thank you for your concern, Senior. I, Shang Huaming, am fine. Good, good. It's good that you're fine. Jiang Fan grabbed Xiaohua and flew straight to the round plate. He said, let's go. Fellow Daoist Xiao is a guest from afar. Let's go to the guest hall first. Xiaohua followed Jiang Fan onto the round disc. The sound of the drums had long since disappeared. Xiaohua saw Jiang Yan and once again saluted. Jiang Yan snorted and didn't even pay him any attention. She turned around and walked inside. Hee hee, fellow Taoist Xiao, please don't take offense. Last time, this little sister had a good chat with your senior martial sister. This time, I thought it was your senior martial sister who came, so I excitedly came out to welcome you. Jiang Fan said awkwardly. It's nothing, it's nothing. Xiaohua didn't seem to care. He smiled and said, both of you are seniors in the late qi refining stage. I'm just a junior. How can I be qualified to argue? Jiang Fan couldn't hear the sarcasm in these words. He could only laugh and point at the scenery below the flying disc to explain to Xiaohua. Medicine Farmer Peak was like Yellow Flower Ridge. It was a huge mountain range with many peaks, rivers, and forests. The scenery was naturally beautiful and varied. However, it was a bit different from Yellow Flower Ridge. Medicine Farmer Peak was in the middle of the mountain range. There were many disciples of 100 Herbs Gate, so there were many places in the mountain range that could be used. Unlike Shanghuaming, Minushi Peak was near the edge of Yellow Flower Ridge while most of Yellow Flower Ridge was in the depths of the mountain range. Shanghuaming couldn't control it. Therefore, when Xiaohua saw the vast expanse of herb fields on Herb Farmer Peak, as well as the dense clouds and spiritual energy, he knew that the strength of 100 Herbs Gate was much greater than Shanghuaming's. Seeing Xiaohua's attention on the medicine fields, Jiang Fan slowed down the flying disc and said with a smile, disciples of 100 Herbs Gate who are below the third level of qi refining stay in the medicine fields and do the chores of cultivating spiritual herbs. Only when they reach the third level of qi refining can they truly be accepted into 100 Herbs Gate and focus on cultivation. Of course, these disciples also have their own medicine fields to cultivate the spiritual herbs they need. Then, he pointed at the mountain stream in the distance and said proudly, that place is an important place of 100 Herbs Gate. Hundreds, even thousands of years old spiritual herbs are all gathered there, oh? Absorption fruit, exquisite grass, are they all planted there? Xiaohua asked, his heart moved. Absorption fruit can be refined into pills after 30 years. Naturally, there's no need to pay too much attention to it. It's not planted there. As for exquisite grass, those that are 400 or 500 years old are naturally planted there. Jiang Fan said with a smile, but most of the spiritual herbs here are not planted. Not planted? Then how do they grow? Xiaohua asked curiously. Jiang Fan smiled and pointed in another direction of the disc, saying, fellow Taoist Xiao, look at that place. That's where 100 Herbs Gate's mid and late stage qi refining disciples cultivate. It's considered a dangerous place in Medicine Farmer Peak. Xiaohua secretly despised him, this guy is really stingy. If you want to say it, then say it. If you don't want to say it, then why do you have to mention it? Even if this is an important place of 100 Herbs Gate, the rare spiritual herbs are not planted but grown in the wild and are thousands of years old. But what are you showing off in front of me for? Isn't it just 1,000-year-old exquisite grass? If this young master is happy, in 3 years I'll also grow a large field of 1,000-year-old exquisite grass for you. In another 30 years, this young master will grow a large field of 10,000-year-old exquisite grass for you so that you'll die of thirst. Xiaohua was not in the mood to listen to Jiang Fan's introduction. He muttered in his heart, this one, junior, and so on, and only picked up this young master. He didn't have the bearing of a cultivator at all. Seeing that Xiaohua didn't speak, Jiang Fan was secretly happy. He thought that he had scared this little boy who hadn't seen the world. When he returned to Shanghuaming, he would tell Xiao Xinrui about his shocking experience. Unconsciously, he became eloquent again. He didn't expect that he, a 12th layer qi refining senior, would act as a guide for a 1st layer qi refining junior. 100 Herbs Gate was somewhat suspected of flattering Shanghuaming. Chapter 1253. Just as Jiang Fan was showing off the situation of the 100 Herbs Gate to Xiao Hua, the flying disc gradually approached a huge oval-shaped mountain top. Jiang Yan, who was next to him, was already impatient. She turned her head and said a few words. Jiang Fan raised his head slightly and smiled. "Fellow Daoist Xiao, take a look for yourself. I forgot to inform the gate master." With that, he cupped his hands and walked to Jiang Yan's side. He also said a few words. Then, Jiang Yan slightly squinted her eyes at Xiao Hua and no longer spoke. Jiang Fan patted his hand and took out a sound-transmitting talisman from his storage bag. After saying a few words, he shook his hand and the sound-transmitting talisman flew through the air to the medicine farmer peak in front of him. In fact, since the last time he saw the little white snake transformed into a python at Yellow Flower Ridge, Zhang Jiantong of the 100 Herbs Gate had the intention of establishing a good relationship with Shang Huaming. If Xiao Xianrui came this time, even if it was inappropriate for him, as the gate master, to personally receive her, it was extremely necessary to show the concern of an elder. However, Jiang Fan had already broken the rules by personally seeing Xiao Hua, a disciple who had not yet entered the sect. It was even more impossible for Zhang Jiantong to appear, so Jiang Fan still sent this message to his father first. Shang Huaming is really declining. He actually sent a disciple who has not yet entered the sect. It seems that the threat of the 10,000 poisons gate has not been eliminated yet. After receiving Jiang Fan's sound-transmitting talisman, Zhang Jintong's mouth hung a cold smile. He thought to himself, this is a good time to win over Shang Huaming. If nothing unexpected happens, the 100 Herbs Gate will go one step further under eye. With that, he clapped his hands and said a few words, and the sound-transmitting talisman flew back. Jiang Fan received the sound-transmitting talisman, walked to Xiao Hua with a smile, and cupped his hands. "Fellow Daoist Xiao, our gate master has an important matter to attend to. I'm afraid he can't meet you in person." Xiao Hua panicked and hurriedly returned the salute. How could I dare to meet gate master Jiang in person? Fellow Daoist Xiao, don't be afraid. When we arrive at the guest hall, if your sect has any matters to attend to, just tell me. If it's not important, I can make the decision and agree to them one by one. Xiao Hua was overjoyed and said, then I'll have to rely on Senior a lot. While they were talking, the flying disc had already landed on Yaonong Peak. Originally, they had arranged a grand welcoming ceremony, but because it was not Xiao Xianrui's arrival, most of it was removed. However, the disciples who stayed were all above the third layer of qi refining, which was enough to give Shang Huaming and Xiao Hua face. Walking down the round plate, before the crowd dispersed, Jiang enforced a smile on his face and handed over a beautifully made yellow talisman. He said with a smile, "Xiao. Fellow Daoist, this is an invitation talisman that I personally refined. Please return to Shang Huaming and give it to Sister Xiao of your sect. Just say that I missed her very much after meeting her at Yellow Flower Ridge. If you have nothing to do, please come to my Medicine Nong Peak for a chat. This humble one will lead Sister Xiao to tour the strange scenery of Yaonong Peak." Xiao Hua did not dare to be neglectful. He received it with both hands and put it into his bosom, saying respectfully, "Junior does not dare to neglect Senior's request. Junior will personally deliver this invitation to Senior Sister." Seeing Xiao Hua's respectful attitude, Jiang An's expression relaxed slightly. He cupped his hands and said, "My brother will take care of all the sect's affairs. This humble one has other trivial matters to attend to, so I won't accompany fellow Daoist Xiao. I don't dare." "Senior, please go ahead." Xiao Hua immediately saluted. After Jiang An left, Jiang Fan took Xiao Hua to the guest hall of the 100 Herbs Gate. The guest hall of the 100 Herbs Gate was much more imposing than Shang Huaming's. Not to mention the respectful disciples, just the momentum and scale of the guest hall were like clouds and mud compared to Shang Huaming's. Jiang Fan wasn't a shallow person, but because of Shang Huaming's matter, he couldn't help but feel a bit apprehensive, so he actually stole a glance at Xiao Hua's expression. However, when he saw that Xiao Hua's expression was normal, he couldn't help but secretly praise, Shang Huaming really has some inner qualities. This Xiao Hua hasn't even entered the sect yet, but he's actually so cultured. He doesn't seem to be uneasy in the face of such a great momentum. In fact, Xiao Hua himself was also puzzled. This guest hall's momentum was extraordinary. Not only were there carved beams and painted pillars, but even the various talismans flashing faintly above the hall were 100 times better than Shang Huaming's. However, he didn't feel the slightest bit of shock in his heart. It was far from the feeling he felt when he saw the many medicinal fields of the 100 Herbs Gate on the round plate just now. Fellow Taoist Xiao, please. After entering the guest hall and walking inside, Jiang Fan raised his hand and invited Xiao Hua to the guest seat. Xiao Hua smiled and waited for Jiang Fan to sit cross-legged on the main seat before sitting down himself. As soon as Xiao Hua sat down, several disciples below the third layer of qi condensation had a look of astonishment in their eyes. They carried several plates of fruits that Xiao Hua had never seen before and placed them on the table in front of him. Please, fellow Taoist Xiao. These are our 100 Herbs Gate specialty fruits. The taste is not bad, and it will be of some help to fellow Taoist Zhao's cultivation. Jiang Fan looked at the colorful fruits and said very warmly. Thank you, young master. Junior has come on behalf of the gate master. How could Xiao Hua want to eat these fruits? Xiao Hua got straight to the point. Hee, don't be in such a hurry, fellow Taoist Xiao. You're a guest from afar. How could my 100 Herbs Gate not entertain you? Jiang Fan smiled and interrupted Xiao Hua. All right, thank you, young master. Xiao Hua helplessly picked up a thumb-sized fiery red fruit and threw it into his mouth. This fruit was very strange. When Xiao Hua closed his mouth and tongue, the fruit was immediately bitten open. A spicy taste immediately rushed into Xiao Hua's nose and mouth. Xiao Hua was startled. Tears were about to gush out of his eyes, but at this moment, the spicy taste slipped into his throat and immediately turned into a kind of icy and moist taste. The tears in Xiao Hua's eyes immediately stopped flowing. Not only that, when the icy cold taste entered his stomach, it turned into a burning flame in an instant. This flame flowed into his meridians and disappeared in the blink of an eye. Xiao Hua was slightly surprised. He silently used his heart technique to examine himself. To his astonishment, he discovered that his magic power had unexpectedly increased by a little. This. Xiao Hua was about to raise his head when he heard Jiang Fan clapping his hands and laughing. Very good, fellow Taoist Xiao. You're indeed a fated person. This ice fire fruit is an extremely rare spirit fruit in my medicine farmer peak. It takes 10 years for it to bear fruit, and the fruit is very rare. Because it can increase the cultivation of early-stage qi condensation disciples, my 100 Herbs Gate has always rewarded meritorious disciples who have just entered the gate. Of course, this fruit is only effective when eaten for the first time. After eating it, you can only taste it. The fruit that fellow Taoist Xiao just ate also ripened a few days ago. Fellow Taoist not only came at the right time, but also obtained the most precious ice fire fruit with just a wave of your hand. I can't help but sigh with emotion. Xiao Hua was astonished. When he looked carefully again, sure enough, there was no more ice fire fruit on the plate. Xiao Hua was speechless. Of course, when Jiang Fan and the others went to Shang Huaming, Xiao Yuehong asked him to offer the fruit. The modesty in his mouth was really modesty, not some kind of courtesy at all. The fruits of the 100 Herbs Gate were really more precious than those of Shang Huaming. However, when he thought of Jiang Fan's covetousness towards Xiao Xianrui, Xiao Hua lost his appetite. Originally, he didn't want to take advantage of the 100 Herbs Gate, but then he had another thought: it's a waste not to take advantage of this. Anyway, when I go back, I won't say anything good about you. Thinking this, he smiled at Jiang Fan, picked up the various fruits, and tasted them one by one. He ate to his heart's content. It must be said that 100 Herbs Gate was indeed founded on spiritual herbs. This fruit had a unique flavor to it. Although the other fruits couldn't promote cultivation like the ice and fire fruit, it still greatly satisfied Xiaohua's appetite for good food. He was inwardly very pleased. Seeing Xiaohua being so impolite, Jiang Fan narrowed his eyes. He felt that he had already dealt with Shang Huaming, this disciple who hadn't seen the world. Seeing Xiaohua eat a dark green fruit, licking his lips and straightening up to speak, Jiang Fan coughed and smiled. Fellow Taoist Xiao, unfortunately, before he could finish speaking, a second layer Qi refining disciple hurried in and whispered a few words in Jiang Fan's ear. Jiang Fan frowned and scolded, "This matter has already been decided. You should just carry it out. Why do you need to ask for my permission? Can't you see that I'm receiving an important guest?" The disciple's expression didn't change. He bowed and was about to withdraw. Seeing this, Xiaohua hurriedly said, "Young master must be busy. Junior will wait." Jiang Fan smiled, "I've made fellow Taoist Xiao laugh. It's just a small matter. There's no need for me to go." He then looked at the second layer Qi refining disciple and explained to Xiaohua, "Our 100 Herbs Gate has many places to grow spiritual plants. In addition to the common ones, we also cultivate rare ones. 100 years ago, in a hidden cave on Medicine Farmer Peak, more than 10 different spiritual plant seeds were found. They looked shriveled, but to be on the safe side, the previous gate master decided to plant these seeds in a place with abundant spiritual qi on Medicine Farmer Peak to see if they could germinate within 100 years. A few days ago, it was already 100 years old, and the place where these seeds were planted had to be changed to other spiritual plants. Therefore, a disciple came to report whether or not to dig out those seeds. Fellow Taoist Xiao, such a small matter was already decided 100 years ago. You only need to carry it out. Why do you need to ask for my permission?" Xiaohua smiled, "The 100 Herbs Gate is really generous. They can even find seeds that are 100 years old." At this point, his heart skipped a beat. Seeing Jiang Fan wave his hand to dismiss the disciple, he couldn't help but say, "Junior has spoken too much. I wonder, what should we do with these seeds? What can we do with them? Put them in the warehouse or throw them away? Anyway, they can't be grown, and we don't know what kind of spiritual plant they are. Our 100 Herbs Gate can't spend another 100 years on them." Jiang Fan said casually. "I see." Xiaohua pondered for a moment, then cupped his hands. "Junior has a presumptuous request. I wonder if these useless seeds, could you give them to me?" "Give them to you?" Jiang Fan was stunned. Normally, even if he destroyed these seeds himself, Jiang Fan would not give them to others. But now, he wanted to leave a good impression on Xiaohua and get closer to Xiao Xianrui and Shang Huaming. If he made Xiaohua unhappy because of these dispensable seeds, the ice and fire fruit just now would have been eaten by Xiaohua for nothing. Chapter 1254. I wonder, what does fellow Taoist Xiao want these seeds for? Based on my experience, if they can't germinate within 100 years, then they might not even germinate for another 100 years. They should be seeds that have already lost their vitality. Jiang Fan asked. "It's nothing much." Xiaohua smiled. "Senior should know that I, Shang Huaming, only have one disciple, and that's me. Usually, I read books by myself. Unlike 100 Herbs Gate, I don't have many medicinal fields and spiritual herbs, so I've learned too much. That's why I want to read more and learn more. If it's inconvenient for senior, then forget it." "Huh, so that's how it is." Jiang Fan clapped. "I didn't expect fellow Taoist Xiao to like studying spiritual herbs. Although the disciples of 100 Herbs Gate have better conditions than you, they don't care about studying spiritual herbs. They only like to cultivate. Once they reach the third layer of qi refining, they don't go to the medicinal field anymore. It's really frustrating. Since fellow Taoist Xiao is so eager to learn, how can I not help you?" Then he turned to the second layer disciple and said, "Go, take these seeds that should be disposed of. In addition, choose some spiritual herbs that aren't forbidden to be spread outside of 100 Herbs Gate. Pick a few seeds and bring them over. Xiao Hua was overjoyed and smiled. Thank you, young master. Actually, if those withered and damaged seeds are useless, it's also good for me to study them. Although Xiao Hua's words seemed a bit insatiable, it did not contradict his statement that he wanted to comprehend the spirit grass ancient records. Jiang Fan frowned slightly. Thinking about those dead seeds, even the elders of 100 Herbs Gate thought they were useless. What kind of waves could Xiao Huaming cause? Therefore, he smiled, gave the disciple a look, and waved his hand to dismiss him. The disciple understood that Jiang Fan's look meant he didn't need to take his words seriously. He only needed to take some of the seeds from 100 Herbs Gate, or some of the damaged ones. As long as they had a little background, even if they couldn't germinate, they couldn't give them to Xiao Hua. After the disciple left, Xiao Hua cupped his hands and said, "Thank you, young master, for your help." "Hee, you're welcome. It's just a seed that needs to be thrown away. There's no need to thank me." Jiang Fan waved his hand. Afterwards, Xiao Hua stood up, straightened his clothes, and bowed deeply to Jiang Fan, saying, "Junior's first priority in coming here is to thank 100 Herbs Gate for remembering the alliance between our two sects and sending this important information to me, Shang Huaming. This is the sect master's instruction before he left. Since I can't meet sect master Jiang, I hope that young sect master can convey my gratitude to him." "All right." Seeing this, Jiang Fan hurriedly got up and helped Xiao Hua up. "Shang Huaming and my 100 Herbs Gate are already allies. If anything happens to Shang Huaming, my 100 Herbs Gate will also be in danger. Helping Shang Huaming is helping my 100 Herbs Gate. Sect Master Xiao is too polite." After saying that, he invited Xiao Hua to take a seat. Xiao Hua cleared his throat and placed the jade bottle he had already prepared on the table. He smiled and said, "Thank you, clan leader Jiang. Next is the second matter that sect leader asked me to come over for. Young master, please take a look at these jade bottles." "Oh." Jiang Fan was as genial as ever. With a wave of his hand, a jade bottle fell into his hand. When he opened it, his face revealed extreme confusion. He looked up at Xiao Hua and said, "Fellow Taoist Xiao, what is the meaning of absorption fruit?" Seeing that Jiang Fan's expression was as usual and not as surprised as he had expected, Xiao Hua knew this was bad. He was afraid that the absorption fruit wasn't that precious in the other party's eyes. Seeing Jiang Fan ask, he could only brace himself and put on a smiling face, saying, "Senior, what do you think of this absorption fruit?" "It's all right." Jiang Fan didn't understand. He casually picked up the other bottles and looked at them one by one, nodding slightly. These absorption fruits are nearly 30 years old. They're barely useful and can be used to refine the Peiyuan pill. I wonder what fellow Taoist Xiao wants to do with these absorption fruits. It's like this. My sect master asked this junior to bring these absorption fruits. He wants to use these absorption fruits to exchange for some black tusk grass from 100 Herbs Gate. I wonder, what does senior think? Xiao Hua replied weakly. This. As soon as Jiang Fan heard the words, black tuber grass, he understood. A trace of embarrassment immediately appeared on his face. He said, "Normally, it's possible to exchange absorption fruits for black tuber grass. Even if fellow Taoist Xiao doesn't come to my 100 Herbs Gate, you can still do it in Yi City." Unfortunately, Xiao Hua was shocked and blurted out, "Unfortunately what?" "AI, it's nothing. I'm sure fellow Taoist Xiao knows that I went to Yi City a few days ago and met your sect's senior martial brother there. Most of my 100 Herbs Gate's black tuber grass was exchanged for spirit stones or spirit herbs with other fellow Taoists at Yi City." "Most?" Xiao Hua said anxiously, "What about the rest?" "The rest is naturally for my 100 Herbs Gate to refine pills." Jiang Fan said awkwardly. "Ah." Xiao Hua's face was full of anxiety. Not only him, but even Xiao Yuehong probably didn't think of this. Heh, actually. Fellow Daoist Xiao, your sect just wants a few Peiyuan pills to help your sect's senior martial brothers and Fairy Xiao increase their strength. If that's the case, I earnestly request my gate master to gift your sect a few Peiyuan pills. Why go through so much trouble? Jiang Fan's face was full of smiles, as if he were Shang Huaming's savior. Xiao Hua's face was full of joy at first. He wanted to nod, but then he realized, this guy wants to curry favor with Shang Huaming. That's not all. If I, Shang Huaming, can't refine enough Peiyuan pills, not only will my senior martial brother's cultivation not be improved, I'm afraid they'll still be suppressed by 100 Herbs Gate. Besides, a few Peiyuan pills may be enough for my senior martial brothers, but what about mine? I'm afraid I'll have to draw water with a bamboo basket. After thinking about it, Xiao Hua's face showed that he was in a difficult position. He cupped his hands and said, Senior, I appreciate your kindness, and I thank you on behalf of my gate master. However, gate master has already made it clear that if I, Shang Huaming, ask for a few Peiyuan pills, 100 Herbs Gate will definitely agree to it for the sake of the alliance between our two sections. However, this will make my Shang Huaming look like a small sect. We've just formed an alliance with 100 Herbs Gate, so it's really inappropriate to take advantage of them. Secondly, the alliance between our two sects will naturally be frequent in the future. As the saying goes, even blood brothers have to settle accounts clearly. If there's any deal in the future, it's hard to say. Therefore, I ask 100 Herbs Gate to give me a suitable exchange according to the customs of East City. So it's like that, Jiang Fan said with a smile, our two sects have already formed an alliance. I didn't expect Gate Master Xiao to still be so polite. Then he frowned, but my 100 Herbs Gate's black tusk grass is really very little. He stood up and paced back and forth in the reception hall several times. He sighed and gritted his teeth. Forget it. Since Gate Master Xiao wants it, I'll give it to Shang Huaming first, even if my 100 Herbs Gate's Peiyuan pill can't be refined. Xiao Hua smiled and cupped his hands, saying, Many thanks. Junior will definitely report young Gate Master's kindness to my Gate Master. Don't be in a hurry to thank me, fellow Daoist Xiao. Jiang Fan hurriedly stopped him. He patted the storage bag at his waist and took out a sound-transmitting talisman. He said a few words in it, and with a burst of transcendence energy, the sound-transmitting talisman flew out of the reception hall. Seeing Xiao Hua's strange expression, Jiang Fan explained, I won't hide it from fellow Daoist Xiao. My 100 Herbs Gate has been refining the Peiyuan pill for the past few days. I don't know how much black tusk grass is left. Xiao Hua's heart suddenly became tense. A moment later, a crimson light flew over and stopped in front of Jiang Fan. Jiang Fan didn't avoid Xiao Hua. He grabbed it and squeezed it. A slightly old voice sounded, reporting to young Gate Master, there are only 10 black tusk grass left. According to your wishes, we have stopped refining the Peiyuan pill. This old man has already sent someone to deliver the black tusk grass to you. 10. Xiao Hua frowned. He wasn't sure if these 10 black tusk grass were enough for Xiao Yuehong. As expected. Jiang Fan spread his hands and shook his head, saying, It's still too late, fellow Daoist Xiao. These remaining 10 black tusk grass aren't enough to exchange for your Gate Master's absorption fruits. Xiao Hua was very disappointed, but what could he do? He could only say, let's take what we have. It's better than having none. How about this, fellow Daoist Xiao? These black tusk grass are a gift from my 100 Herbs Gate to Shang Huaming. My 100 Herbs Gate won't accept these absorption fruits. Jiang Fan narrowed his eyes and said with a smile. No, Senior should take the absorption fruits that are suitable. Since my Gate Master has given the order, Senior shouldn't make things difficult for Junior. Xiao Hua shook his head and refused. Alright, since Gate Master Xiao has given the order, I won't be polite. Jiang Fan picked up 2 of the jade bottles and put them in his storage pouch. At this moment, the second layer Qi refining disciple who went out just now returned with a small storage pouch in his hand. He took out several jade boxes and placed them in front of Jiang Fan, saying, "These are the black tusk grass that Elder Lan ordered this disciple to bring." Then, he took out 2 small pouches from his storage pouch and handed them forward, saying, "Young Gate Master ordered this disciple to take these. One contains the dried seeds and the seeds that haven't sprouted yet, and the other contains the damaged seeds. Give these 2 pouches to fellow Daoist Xiao." Jiang Fan didn't check them and ordered the disciple. Xiao Hua took the 2 small pouches and opened them to take a look. Sure enough, one of the pouches contained some abnormally dried seeds that were covered in dust and dirt. The other pouch was full of damaged seeds. "Fellow Daoist Xiao, here are 10 stalks of black tusk grass, please check them." Jiang Fan waved his hand and several jade boxes flew to the table in front of Xiao Hua. Xiao Hua put down the 2 pouches and opened one of the jade boxes. Inside the jade box were 2 stalks of black tusk grass that were about a foot long and had long sword-shaped leaves. The edges of the leaves were deeply serrated and there were fine red and black lines all over the leaves. That's right. Thank you, young Gate Master." Xiao Hua looked at the other jade boxes and found that they were all full-grown black tusk grass. He smiled and said to Jiang Fan, "Fellow Daoist Xiao, please take the remaining absorption fruits back." Jiang Fan was about to wave his hand when Xiao Hua's eyes lit up and he hurriedly said, "Wait a moment." Chapter 1255. Fellow Daoist Xiao, is there something wrong? Jiang Fan's complexion changed slightly. Hee, it's nothing. Young master, this junior suddenly thought that since these absorption fruits have been brought here, this junior won't take them back. If your sect still has some black tuber grass that hasn't reached maturity yet, this junior will exchange them all. Xiao Hua said with a smile. Less than mature black tuber grass? Jiang Fan was obviously surprised, his eyes turned slightly, and he said with a smile, "This year's black tuber grass is gone, and if there are any, it will naturally be 1 year old. However, according to this junior's knowledge, there aren't many black tuber grass that are 1 year old. Our 100 Herbs Gate also doesn't plan to exchange black tuber grass next year. If your sect really wants to exchange, then we can only have the matured black tuber grass in the year after next." Then he said apologetically, "But the matured black tuber grass in the year after next is much worse than the matured black tuber grass. It's very inappropriate to use it to refine the Peiyuan pill. Fellow Daoist Xiao, do you still want to exchange?" This. Xiao Hua's face was extremely embarrassed. After bitterly deliberating for a long time, he clenched his teeth and said, "Exchange. Having, it's better than having nothing. If the Peiyuan pill's effect is not good, then let this junior take it." Well, since fellow Daoist Xiao insists on exchanging, then this junior can only reluctantly accept. Jiang Fan's face was very embarrassed. However, in order to make up for your sect's loss, this junior will let the disciple pay another 10% according to the rules of the exchange market. Then many thanks, young Master Yu Cheng. Xiao Hua's face was full of gratitude. Sure enough, Jiang Fan said a few words and put away the remaining absorption fruits. Not long after, the disciple brought back dozens of jade boxes. Xiao Hua looked at them, and sure enough, there were stalks of black tuber grass inside, but they looked very fresh, obviously just picked. On the surface of the black tuber grass, red and black fine lines were not densely covered, and it also didn't look mature. Well, fellow Daoist Xiao, please put these jade boxes into your storage bag. Jiang Fan said with a smile. Xiao Hua's face reddened, and he muttered, This junior didn't bring a storage bag. Ah. Jiang Fan was taken aback, but he soon understood. He laughed out loud and said, Sect Master Xiao is indeed meticulous. Fellow Daoist Xiao is only a first-layer qi refining cultivator. It must be extremely dangerous for him to carry a storage pouch with him. Only someone with nothing would come to our 100 Herbs Gate. Furthermore, since fellow Daoist Xiao has come to our 100 Herbs Gate, how could we let fellow Daoist Xiao risk going back alone? As he spoke, he took the storage pouch from the disciple beside him, collected all the items, and handed it over to Xiao Hua. He smiled and said, "Fellow Taoist Xiao, please take it for now. After resting for a while, I'll send a disciple to send fellow Taoist Xiao back. It won't be too late for fellow Taoist Xiao to exchange for this storage pouch when we arrive at Yellow Flower Ridge." Xiao Hua was overjoyed. He reached out to receive the storage bag and cupped his hands in thanks. "Many thanks for Senior's kind intentions. This junior is extremely grateful." "You're welcome." Jiang Fan waved his hand and said, "Is there anything else, fellow Taoist Xiao?" Xiao Hua shook his head. "All right then, fellow Taoist Xiao, please take a rest first. I will make arrangements to send fellow Taoist Xiao back to Yellow Flower Ridge. Senior, this junior isn't tired. How about, we leave now?" Xiao Hua said. "Hee, I still have to make arrangements. Fellow Taoist Xiao should take this time to rest." Jiang Fan explained. Xiao Hua had no choice but to follow the disciple beside him to the abode next to the guest hall. As soon as the disciple left the abode, Xiao Hua sat down cross-legged and closed his eyes to adjust his breathing. On Medicine Farmer Peak, in a quiet place, Jiang Fan stood with his hands behind his back and reported to Jiang Jiantong, who was sipping tea with his eyes closed. When Jiang Fan finished, Jiang Jiantong opened his eyes and looked meaningfully at Jiang Fan. He smiled and said, "Fan, well done. Although this black tusk grass isn't that important, we can't give it to Shang Huaming in full. What you're doing is showing that our 100 Herbs Gate is trying our best to help them, and also restricting the development of Shang Huaming's disciples. Even I can only do this much. Thank you for your praise, Father." Jiang Fan said modestly, "Boy, prepare a Peiyuan pill and give it to Xiao Hua. Although this guy's cultivation is shallow, his weight in Xiao Yuehong's heart is not light. It's better to win him over." "Is that so?" Jiang Jiantong looked at Jiang Fan with a smile that wasn't a smile. Going too far is as bad as falling short. Jiang Fan was startled and suddenly realized. He slapped his forehead and said, "Father is right. Boy, if you do this, it will show that our 100 Herbs Gate is too close to Shang Huaming. I'm afraid it will make Xiao Yuehong suspicious." That's right. If you give this Peiyuan pill to Xiao Xianrui, it will be just right. As for Xiao Hua, didn't you already give him some useless seeds? The amount is just right." Jiang Jiantong smiled. "Boy understands. Boy will do it right away." Jiang Fan nodded. Go. Send a few capable disciples to safely send Xiao Hua back to Yellow Flower Ridge. We have done so much, we can't let others take advantage of us." "Yes." Jiang Fan bowed and withdrew. Jiang Jintong's face showed a satisfied smile as he watched his proud son withdraw. The flying shuttle that sent Xiao Hua was the one that Jiang Jiantong and Jiang Fan went to Yellow Flower Ridge to spy. The people escorting and driving it were also a group of people, but Jiang Jiantong and Jiang Fan didn't understand. The flying shuttle was really fast. In just half a day, they arrived at Yellow Flower Ridge. Xiao Hua threw out the flying talisman. Gong Mingwei and Zhang Qingxiao came out to greet him. After greeting the disciples of 100 Herbs Gate, they took out the things in Xiao Hua's storage bag and put them into Shang Huaming's storage bag. Then, of course, Gong Mingwei invited the disciples of 100 Herbs Gate to rest at Yellow Flower Ridge. The disciples of 100 Herbs Gate naturally didn't go. After a round of pleasantries, they cupped their hands and bid farewell. After the disciples of 100 Grass Gate left, Zhang Qingxiao chuckled and hugged Xiao Hua Shang's shoulder, which was a head taller than him. She said, "Good, kid, you actually came back safely. You didn't lose any arms or legs." "Second senior brother, it can't be." Xiao Hua said with a smile, "Do you really want me to not come back? With your luck, you can even find an absorption fruit in a corner. Even if I wanted you to not come back, it's impossible for you not to come back." Zhang Qingxiao's face was full of disapproval. You didn't encounter any danger along the way, right? Gong Mingwei asked with a smile. It's a long story. Xiao Hua sighed, a trace of lingering fear on his face. Really? Zhang Qingxiao was stunned. At this moment, a voice came, why haven't you come in yet? Are you waiting for others to rob you? It was Xiao Yuehong's voice. Zhang Qingxiao stuck out her tongue and pulled Xiao Hua's sleeve. The three of them flew into the formation and went straight to Minushi Peak. At this time, the sun was setting in the west. Xiao Yuehong was lying lazily on a boat-shaped magic tool. His complexion looked much better than before. Xiao Xianrui was standing next to him. Seeing Xiao Hua return, her face was full of joy. How was it? Xiao Hua, how was the journey? The magic tool under Xiao Yuehong tilted, straightening Xiao Yuehong's boat. Reporting to Sect Master. Let's talk about the journey. Disciple went to 100 Herbs Gate. Xiao Hua bowed and told him about his trip to 100 Herbs Gate. What? 100 Herbs Gate didn't have enough black tusk grass. How is this possible? Xiao Yuehong's expression changed slightly. Father, it's possible. I saw 100 Herbs Gates selling spirit herbs in East City. There was black tusk grass among them. Xiao Xianrui said. Is that so? Xiao Yuehong glanced at Xiao Xianrui. Xiao Xianrui lowered her head slightly. Gong Mingwei glanced at Xiao Xianrui and nodded, yes, disciples saw it too. Zhang Qingxiao opened her mouth, but didn't say anything. It's useful to spoil black tusk grass that's 2 years old, but it's extremely inappropriate to match it with this year's absorption fruit. What a waste. Xiao Yuehong sighed. Then, he glanced at one of the jade boxes and threw it aside. Disciple planted these black tusk grass in the medicine garden. Maybe, it can be used the year after next. Xiao Hua said softly. The year after next. Xiao Yuehong glanced at his disciples with a complicated expression. He then said, that's the only way. Disciple will go over now. Since the black tusk grass has just been plucked, it should be able to survive. Xiao Hua didn't dare to be negligent. He took out his storage pouch and reported. All right, you can go. Xiao Yuehong said to Xiao Hua with a smile. Xiao Hua got up and flew to Cherishing Flower Peak. Just as he was about to plant the black tusk grass, he saw the puppet beside the medicine garden and changed his mind. He walked to the puppet, patted it, and stored it into the space in his mind. Then, he stored the black tusk grass in the dozens of jade boxes into the space and ordered the puppet to plant the black tusk grass in the flat medicine garden. When he returned to Mincy Peak, Gong Mingwei and the other two had already disappeared. Reporting to Sect Master, the black tusk grass has been planted. Xiao Hua cupped his hands and said. He knew that Xiao Yuehong didn't go to the medicine garden that many times a year, so he wasn't afraid that Xiao Yuehong would find something fishy. Plant it. We'll talk about it later. As expected, Xiao Yuehong wasn't interested. He waved his hand and said, your senior brothers have gone to the pill room to prepare. Master is going to start refining pills in 2 days. At that time, you can also come and take a look. What? Disciple, can take a look? Xiao Hua's face lit up with joy. He wasn't Shang Huaming's official disciple. Although he was an alchemy boy in name, he only prepared things. When it was time to refine pills, he could only wait outside the pill room, unable to see anything. You'll be Shang Huaming's disciple in the future. What's the harm in taking a look now? Moreover, if you don't have master's teachings on the Tao of alchemy, what can you see just by looking? Xiao Yuehong said disdainfully, that's right, tell me what happened along the way. Master has been worried all this time. Only when I saw your sound-transmitting talisman did I feel relieved. Disciples' cultivation is insufficient. I've made Sect Master worry. Xiao Hua's nose twitched as he muttered. Don't be afraid, don't be afraid. If your cultivation is insufficient, you can continue to cultivate. If 1 year isn't enough, then 2 years. If 2 years isn't enough, then 10 years. If 10 years isn't enough, cough cough, then 50 years. Master won't drive you away. When you're 60 years old and enter the 3rd layer of qi refining, Master will still take you into Shanghuaming. Xiao Yuehong said with a smile. That's not necessary, sect master. Xiao Hua scratched his head. Although he was extremely grateful in his heart, he really couldn't keep his face straight. Chapter 1256. What? Fellow Taoist Chang, who's roughly in the 9th layer of qi refining? Xiao Yuehong's expression slightly changed. With a gloomy face, he said, needless to say, a 9th layer qi refining cultivator bullying a 1st layer qi refining disciple. Who else could it be other than that loose cultivator called Shanghuan? This loose cultivator is quite a headache. It can't be said that they're all snobbish people who would attack spirit stones and spirit plants when they see them, but they don't belong to any sect or school, so they do as they please. They're willing to kill and rob, but there are still some chivalrous and benevolent people among them who cultivate peacefully. This Chang Huan you encountered has the worst reputation among the loose cultivators. The worst reputation? Xiao Hua slightly shook his head and said inwardly, that's because you haven't heard about the blue twin bears. Xiao Hua, then, how did you escape? If you were caught by Chang Huan, not only would those vitality assimilating fruits be taken away, even your little life would be in danger. Yes, sect master. At that time, this disciple was also scared, but it just so happened that a young cultivator about 24 or 25 years old with a cultivation base at the peak of qi refining came. Xiao Hua explained. A young cultivator about 24 or 25 years old with a cultivation base at the peak of qi refining? How come I've never heard of him? When did our country of Xi have such a genius? Xiao Yuehong curiously asked, what's this person's name? This disciple doesn't know that person's name, and he also didn't say. This disciple only knows that Chang Huan called him fellow Taoist Li. A cultivator surnamed Li? Xiao Yuehong furrowed his brows and said in a low voice, there are 3 major cultivation sects in the state of Xi, namely the Splendid Sect, the 7 Skills Sect, and the Xiunyan School. The Splendid Sect Sun Yunzi, the 7 Skills Sect's Reverend Lu Ni, and the Xiunyan School's Fairy Yingzhua are all at the late nascent soul stage. They have countless disciples, including Gold Core and Foundation Establishment disciples. Disciples at the peak of the qi refining stage are nothing. However, for disciples at the 12th layer of the qi refining stage with outstanding aptitude, they would only be able to advance 1 layer per year in the early stages, 1 layer per 2 years in the middle stages, and 1 layer per 5 years in the late stages. Especially for the 11th and 12th layers of the qi refining stage. But, this cultivator surnamed Li actually reached the peak of the qi refining stage at the age of 24. This is something that has never been heard of in the 3 great cultivation sects of the state of Xi. Soon after, Xiao Yuehong was startled and asked curiously, that's right, Xiao Hua, how did you know this cultivator surnamed Li was at the peak of the qi refining realm? Reporting to sect master, this disciple felt that he had divine sense, but it was much weaker than sect master's divine sense. Xiao Hua answered honestly. What? You can actually perceive my divine sense? Xiao Yuehong was flabbergasted. He had an inconceivable expression on his face. Divine sense is a divine ability that only appears at the peak of the qi refining stage. Unless you also have divine sense, you absolutely can't perceive it. Is that so? Xiao Hua stared blankly. He didn't know about this. Scratching his head, he said, this disciple doesn't know. This disciple doesn't have any divine sense. It's just that when sect master used his divine sense to sweep over me, I had a feeling. As for whether it was divine sense or not, this disciple heard second senior brother mention it before. This disciple can't be sure. Take a look at this, isn't it? As he spoke, Xiao Yuehong swept a strand of divine sense over Xiao Hua's body. Reporting to Sect Master, this is the feeling. This disciple felt that Sect Master used his divine sense to sweep over the thing in this disciple's arms. Xiao Hua said. Strange, strange. Xiao Yuehong laughed heartily. He patted Xiao Hua's shoulder and said, Child, where did you come from? You're only at the first level of the Qi refining realm, but you can actually perceive divine sense? Xiao Hua was sad. He lowered his head and said, This disciple doesn't know where this disciple came from. This disciple can't remember anything. Ai, Xiao Hua, don't be sad. There's nothing in this world that you don't know. It's just that you haven't found the way to find the truth. As long as you cultivate to become the #1 cultivator in the world and become an almighty great ascension stage expert, can you still not find your origin? Great ascension stage? Xiao Hua was stunned. Then, what cultivation level is that? Cough cough. Xiao Yuehong coughed awkwardly twice and changed the topic. However, even if you can't remember your origin in this lifetime, it doesn't matter. This Shang Huaming is your home. Master will be responsible for taking care of you when you're old. Sect Master, aren't you saying the opposite? It's this disciple who will take care of you when you're old. Xiao Hua knew what Xiao Yuehong was referring to and said in a low voice. Then, you'll have to cultivate to the foundation establishment stage first. Xiao Yuehong said with a smile. Sect Master. Xiao Hua was somewhat speechless. However, in his heart, he quite liked Xiao Yuehong's amiable attitude towards his disciple. I remember now. Xiao Yuehong looked at Xiao Hua's embarrassment and was very happy in his heart. Suddenly, he slapped his forehead and said, I know who this fellow Daoist Li is. Xiao Hua saw Xiao Yuehong so excited that he was even happier than if he were teasing his own cultivation level. He couldn't help but be stunned and asked curiously, this fellow Daoist Li, is he a famous figure? He's not just famous, he's simply too famous. Xiao Yuehong said with a smile, compared to him, there's nothing to compare. Who is this person? Xiao Hua was even more surprised. Which of the 3 sects of our Shi country is he? How is he a cultivator of our Shi country? If he was a cultivator of our Shi country, Master would have known earlier. Xiao Yuehong said with a smile, this person has some background. He's a disciple of the extreme happiness faction of the Lian country, Li Zongbao. Li Zongbao? This name sounds extremely ordinary, far worse than Xiao Hua. Xiao Hua said with a smile. Your name sounds good, but it was also given by Master. It has nothing to do with you. Xiao Yuehong looked up at the distant mountain stream floating in the clouds and said, 10 years ago, this Li Zongbao was in the limelight on our Xiaoyu continent. 10 years ago? Sect Master, 10 years ago, Li Zongbao was only 14 years old. Xiao Hua said curiously. That's right. When Li Zongbao was 14 years old, he cultivated to the 9th level of the Qi refining realm. That is the late stage of the Qi refining realm. Your eldest senior brother is the one with the best aptitude I've met. He was 20 years old when he reached the 9th level of the Qi refining realm, a full 6 years later than Li Zongbao. Sigh, even your eldest senior brother can't compare, how can you compare to him? You are now 21 years old and just reached the 1st level of the Qi refining realm. If you didn't mention your age, I wouldn't have noticed. 3 years ago, you looked 18 years old. Now, why do you still look 18 years old? You haven't changed at all? Xiao Yuehong suddenly noticed Xiao Hua's appearance and asked curiously. Disciple hasn't changed? Xiao Hua was also stunned and reached out to touch his face. This doesn't seem to have changed. When Xiao Yuehong heard Xiao Hua's question, he was also somewhat uncertain. After all, he had never paid attention to it before. You seem to have grown a bit. Only when a nascent soul cultivator reconstructs his body would his face not change. You're not a nascent soul cultivator, so of course it would change. Xiao Yuehong waved his hand and sighed again. In 10 years, he actually cultivated from the 9th level of the Qi refining realm to the 12th level of the Qi refining realm. How did he cultivate in the end? Sect Master, didn't you say that if your cultivation went smoothly, you could advance from the 9th level of the Qi refining realm to the 12th level of the Qi refining realm in 15 years? Li Zongbao used 10 years, it's about the same. Xiao Hua argued. What do you know? The so-called 5 years to increase one level is just a common saying. Different people have different opportunities, different cultivation methods and different elixirs. The time taken to break through each level is different. Moreover, from the 9th level onwards, it becomes more and more difficult to break through each level. Even for cultivators of the same level, because of different cultivation methods and qualifications, the difference is huge. Don't think that Jiang Fan from the 100 Herbs sect is already at the 12th level of the Qi refining realm. That's all because of elixirs. Moreover, Jiang Fan's qualifications are not bad. He's just 35 years old and can be considered one of the better cultivators in the country of Xi. But if you compare him to Li Zongbao, the difference is not just a little bit. Thinking about that cold-faced but warm-hearted young senior who ignored him and didn't even release the confinement talisman for him to save the yellow talismans, Xiao Hua couldn't help but blush with shame. Compared to him, there was really nothing to compare. By the way, why didn't Li Zongbao stay in the Utopia faction? Why did he come to the country of Xi? Xiao Yuehong suddenly thought of this question. Moreover, that Chang Huan actually called out Li Zongbao's name. Presumably, Li Zongbao has been in the country of Xi for a long time. What is he doing here? Xiao Hua shrugged and shook his head. Even the sect leader doesn't know. I don't even know. Is that so? How do you know I don't know? Xiao Yuehong smiled and shrugged his shoulders, as if he was imitating Xiao Hua. Xiao Hua was speechless. And then? Xiao Yuehong suddenly asked when Xiao Hua was speechless. And then? There's no and then. Li Zongbao saved me and sent me on a journey. He saw a green brilliance in the Imitang Mountains. He abandoned me and ran away. Xiao Hua smiled. Looking at him, he seemed to be looking for the green brilliance. Green brilliance, then, what is it? Xiao Yuehong frowned again. Then he pinched his chin and said in a low voice, he actually came all the way to the country of Xi because of a cultivator at the peak of the Qi refining realm. Xiao Hua stood still and waited for Xiao Yuehong to continue asking. But after waiting for a long time, Xiao Yuehong actually stared at the clouds outside in a daze, as if he had been worried about Li Zongbao coming to the country of Xi. Cough cough, sect leader. Xiao Hua coughed twice, but Xiao Yuehong ignored him. Forget it, maybe I don't need to report Kai Zhuoxia's matter to the sect leader. Xiao Hua thought to himself, but then he changed his mind. Even if he left Yellow Flower Ridge, he still had to let Xiao Yuehong know. If he didn't ask now, when would he? Sect leader, I have something to ask. Xiao Hua had to interrupt Xiao Yuehong's thoughts. Oh, what's wrong? Xiao Yuehong came back to his senses and asked curiously. It's like this, sect leader. Do you know Luyang's Kai family? Xiao Hua asked embarrassedly. Kai family? Xiao Yuehong's expression changed greatly, but he immediately returned to normal. He said coldly, you met someone from Qingyuan's Kai family? Who is it? Chapter 1257. Qingyuan's Kai family? Xiao Hua was stunned and asked casually, Sect Master knows someone from Qingyuan's Kai family? Who did you meet? Xiao Yuehong didn't answer Xiao Hua and only asked coldly. Reporting to Sect Master, disciple didn't meet anyone from Qingyuan's Kai family. I only met a female cultivator from Luyang's Kai family. Seeing the Sect Master's expression change, Xiao Hua hurriedly stopped smiling and answered respectfully. Oh, Luyang's Kai family. Xiao Yuehong came to his senses and nodded. Master knows about Lu Yang's Kai family. It's a side branch of Qingyuan's Kai family. What's that female cultivator's name? Kai Zhuoxia. Xiao Hua answered. Never heard of her. Xiao Yuehong said resolutely, Lu Yang's Kai family has someone called Fairy Hong Xia. I heard her aptitude is extraordinary. Master isn't familiar with the others. After she finished speaking, she revealed a sneer on her face. Fairy, hee, only those who have reached the nascent soul realm would acknowledge the title of fairy in the Xiaoyu continent. Don't even mention Gold Core Realm and Foundation Establishment Realm fairies, they all call themselves fairy for fun. A little Qi Condensation Realm girl dares to call herself fairy? She doesn't know the immensity of heaven and earth. Xiao Hua was a little surprised when he heard this. Xiao Yuehong was an amiable person and didn't put on the airs of an elder. Even the disciples of Death Flower Underworld sect would sometimes say some witty things in front of them. Xiao Hua had never heard Xiao Yuehong give such a harsh evaluation of a junior disciple. However, Xiao Hua naturally wasn't interested in Fairy Hong Xia. Seeing Xiao Yuehong unhappy, he smiled apologetically and said, This Kai Zhuoxia left me a summoning talisman. She said that if I have the opportunity, I should go to 1,000 Feet Peak half a year later. 1,000 Feet Peak? Why go there? As expected, Xiao Yuehong's curiosity was successfully piqued by Xiao Hua. He said disdainfully, 1,000 Feet Peak became famous because of a 1,000 feet old man 1,000 years ago. Why would a disciple of a sect like you go there? Why, can't I go? Xiao Hua was a bit baffled. Because you're a disciple of a sect. Xiao Yuehong smiled. You have my Xinghua Ming's cultivation technique, as well as your master and senior brothers and sisters. Naturally, you don't have to go to 1,000 Feet Peak to look for that 1,000 feet old man's treasures. Xiao Hua came to a realization. This 1,000 feet old man was actually a rogue cultivator. Sure enough, Xiao Yuehong continued, I'm sure the girl from the Kai family has already told you some things about rogue cultivators, right? Seeing the disdain on Xiao Yuehong's face when he mentioned rogue cultivators, Xiao Hua could only nod his head. Xiao Yuehong looked at Xiao Hua and said meaningfully, Xiao Hua, you should know by now that the various sects of our Xiaoyu continent only accept disciples after they reach the third level of Qi refinement. If they couldn't reach the third layer of Qi refining within a certain period of time, these disciples would either be assigned to other jobs or have their cultivation crippled and driven off the mountain. As for the disciples who had already cultivated, they had already come into contact with cultivation. Of course, they hoped that they could still have the strength they had before their cultivation was abolished, so they tried their best to cultivate. Everything depended on human effort. Many people were able to successfully recover their cultivation. Of course, this did not rule out the possibility that when the cultivation was crippled, they would be merciful and not cripple their cultivation at all. As for these disciples, they became rogue cultivators without any sects or clans. Therefore, the vast majority of rogue cultivators were disciples abandoned by various sections. And there was also a small portion that simply didn't enter the eyes of the various sections. They had never cultivated in a sect for even a day. However, they just happened to have top-notch aptitude. Relying on a cultivation technique that they obtained out of thin air, they cultivated to an extremely high realm. Xiao Hua was baffled and asked, since they have top-notch aptitude, why didn't the other sects take an interest in them? Immortal fate. Xiao Yuehong exposed the truth with one sentence, aptitude is nothing. If you don't cultivate, no one will know. Even if you have heaven-defying aptitude, you can't let others see it. If you don't even have the slightest opportunity to cultivate, then no one will know whether you have aptitude or not. Could it be that there's no other way to discover it before cultivating? Xiao Hua frowned. There is, but it consumes quite a lot of magic power. If one doesn't have an extremely deep background and is extremely valued by others, who would use it? Xiao Hua said with a smile, but since you have an extremely deep background and are extremely valued by others, who would let others test you? Why is it so hard to pronounce? Xiaohua shook his head and said, if there was a simple method to determine whether someone has the fate to cultivate or not, wouldn't that be great? Master will leave this matter of saving the cultivation world to you, Xiaohua. Xiao Yuehong solemnly patted Xiaohua's shoulder. Xiaohua didn't know if Xiao Yuehong was joking with him or if he was serious. He could only mutter a few words and didn't agree. Xiao Yuehong was obviously joking with him and continued, Elder 100 Zhang belongs to the latter. This famous rogue cultivator senior had never stayed in a sect for even a day, but suddenly, he rose like a star. First, he was at the 5th layer of qi refining, then he appeared at the 10th layer of qi refining, and finally, his cultivation actually reached the peak of foundation establishment. You have to know that our Xiaoyu continent's cultivation techniques have withered. I, Shang Huaming, can only cultivate to the gold core stage. The majority of the cultivation techniques in the hands of rogue cultivators can only cultivate to the late stage of qi refining. This elder 100 Zhang actually cultivated to the early stage of gold core stage in his lifetime. This doesn't mean much in the eyes of famous sects, but it's an extremely rare occurrence among rogue cultivators. It's just that, this elder 100 Zhang's cultivation cave was on 100 Zhang Peak. According to his cultivation, he could also establish a sect. But for some reason, elder 100 Zhang never accepted any disciples. Even when he finally exhausted his lifespan and died on 100 Zhang Peak, there wasn't a single disciple by his side, nor was there anyone to collect his remains. Oh, this disciple understands. Xiao Hua nodded. Old man 1000 Zhang probably didn't leave behind any Tao teachings, nor did he pass down the cultivation techniques he cultivated. This doesn't count for much to cultivators who have sects, but to rogue cultivators who lack cultivation techniques, it's a fatal temptation. Exactly. If it weren't for the fact that my cultivation technique can also condense gold core, perhaps Master would also covet it. Xiao Yuehong smiled. Unfortunately, 1,000 years have passed, and until now, no cultivator has obtained Elder 100 Zhang's Tao teachings. In our country of Shi's cultivation world, there's only a rumor that Elder 100 Zhang left behind a certain clue. His cultivation technique is left on 100 Zhang Peak, waiting for the fated person to obtain it. It's another matter of 1,000-year-old treasure. I'm afraid that in these 1,000 years, many rogue cultivators have fallen on 100 Zhang Peak. Xiao Hua asked. Not only that, but there are also many low-level disciples from sections. That Kaizhuxia must have seen that your cultivation is low and used this to bewitch you. Xiao Hua sweated profusely. He was only at the 1st level of qi refining, how could he be bewitched? You should obediently cultivate on Yellow Flower Ridge. Our Shang Huaming's cultivation technique isn't necessarily worse than Elder 100 Zhang's. Right, give me that little girl's sound-transmitting talisman. Xiao Yuehong warned. Xiao Hua took out the sound-transmitting talisman. Xiao Yuehong inspected it, then handed it back and nodded. This is a simple sound-transmitting talisman, the little girl didn't do anything. Oh, right, Xiao Hua, why did that little girl from the Kai clan ask you to go to 100 Zhang Peak for no reason? Could it be that she was bewitched by you? Xiao Yuehong looked Xiao Hua up and down, then muttered, I don't see anything attractive about her. Could it be that your 2 senior brothers haven't been settled yet, but you already have a dual cultivation partner? You're only at the 1st level of qi refining, yet you're thinking so much. Then, he glared at Xiao Hua and said, I won't talk about other people, but this girl from the Kai clan, without my permission, you can't easily make friends with her. Sect Master, it's not what you think. Xiao Hua's face was slightly red. Huh? Then why did she give you the sound-transmitting talisman? She even asked you to go to 100 Zhang Peak together? That's because this disciple saved her. Xiao Hua said confidently. Hearing this, Xiao Yuehong's expression was incomparably brilliant. He said with a smile, could it be, you're a disciple at the 1st level of qi refining? Oh, right, what's the cultivation of that little girl from the Kai clan? This. Xiao Hua only hesitated for a moment before recounting what happened. However, before he could finish, Xiao Yuehong interrupted him. Ah. You actually ran into the pylon twin bears? Xiao Yuehong was greatly alarmed. These two people have the worst reputation among the loose cultivators. Moreover, they kill without batting an eye and are most lustful for women. Moreover, these two people's cultivation. I'm afraid they're at the 6th level of qi refining. You were actually able to save that little girl from the Kai clan? What? That girl's cultivation is actually at the 5th level of qi refining? The other 4 are also at the 5th level of qi refining. How did you do it? Xiao Hua didn't plan to hide anything from Xiao Yuehong, so he told him everything in detail. Xiao Yuehong's face was full of disbelief. He looked at Xiao Hua's hand and said, "Just like that, you defeated the Iron Cloak Talisman with your bare hands?" As he said that, he patted his waist and took out a golden bell talisman. He urged his transcendence energy and hit himself with it. He said, "Xiao Hua, try hitting me with your fists." Xiao Hua knew the sect master's cultivation wasn't something he could reach. Although his strength was great, he could only deal with cultivators around the 6th level of qi refining. Therefore, he didn't hold back and said with a smile, "Be careful, sect master." Afterwards, he gathered all the strength in his body and continuously hit the same place on Xiao Yuehong's arm. Pa, 5 consecutive punches. Xiao Hua hit Xiao Yuehong to his heart's content. Xiao Yuehong also let out a long laugh. Good boy, good boy. You're really born with extraordinary talent." In the midst of Xiao Yuehong's laughter, the golden bell talisman on his body shattered with a crash. Although the golden bell talisman wasn't as high level as the Iron Cloak Talisman, this golden bell talisman was still cast by a middle-stage foundation establishment cultivator like Xiao Yuehong. The defense it produced wasn't just a little bit stronger than the Iron Cloak talismans of the blue and blue bears. If someone else tried to break this kind of defense, they probably wouldn't be able to break it without using extremely powerful yellow talismans or magic tools. However, Xiao Hua actually defeated it with just 5 punches. This was something Xiao Yuehong never even dreamed of before. Even now, after seeing it with his own eyes, he still couldn't understand the key point within. Only, did he need to know? Wouldn't it be fine as long as he knew that he, a 1st-level qi refining disciple, had an attack power comparable to a 5th or 6th level qi refining cultivator? Chapter 1258. Xiao Hua smiled bitterly. Sect master, disciple's move was indeed unexpected and powerful, but who would stand there and let disciple beat them up? When disciple saved Kaizhuxia that day, I only scared them. When they saw disciple's method and saw disciple's young age, they mistook disciple for a nascent soul cultivator and fled in a sorry state. I'm afraid they've already woken up and are looking for disciple everywhere. What's there to be afraid of? Xiao Yuehong's face was full of disdain. Isn't it just the blue twin bears? If master runs into them, I'll kill them first and vent your anger for you. But then, he began to ponder, that's true. Your fists can't be compared to magic arts or talismans. They can only be effective in close combat. But in a normal fight, who would let you get close to them? It's really hard to deal with. Disciple never intended to use this move as a regular weapon. Cultivating seriously is the right way. Xiao Hua said with a smile. Good, well said. All kinds of magic arts need to be supported by magic power. Only when one's cultivation is profound can they have stronger magic power. Xiao Yuehong clapped his hands and laughed. That's right, 100 Herbs Gate's young master asked disciple to bring a Peiyuan pill. Xiao Hua asked, Sect master, do you want me to keep it or give it to you? Xiao Yuehong snorted. He waved his hand and said, go to the pill room by yourself. After he finished speaking, the boat magic tool behind him floated up again and carried the frowning Xiao Yuehong towards the sunlight. Upon seeing this, Xiao Hua bowed and saluted before flying towards the pill room on Shihua Peak. Although the pill room was on Shihua Peak, it wasn't in the same place as the medicinal garden. It was a spacious and bright place at the foot of the mountain. It was a cave that was several people tall and led straight to the inside of Shihua Peak. Above the cave, there were 3 large words written in flamboyant calligraphy: Pill Refining Room. In the past, Xiaohua would always guard the entrance of this cave and wouldn't take half a step inside. Now that he obtained Xiao Yuehong's approval, he stepped inside. The inside of the cave was very dry, and the surrounding stone walls were inlaid with many Minghua stones, illuminating the inside of the cave. Xiaohua curiously looked around as he walked inside. The mountain path inside the cave wasn't straight. After a while, it spiraled downwards. After the time it took to smoke a cigarette, Xiaohua arrived at an open space with a radius of 10 zhang. In front of the open space, there were 3 caves. Just as Xiaohua didn't know which cave to enter, Zhang Qingxiao came out from the leftmost cave. When she saw Xiaohua, she smiled and said, "Xiaohua, you finally came to the alchemy room? Xiaohua is here." While speaking, Gong Mingwei and Xiao Xianrui walked out from behind Zhang Qingxiao with strange things in their hands and asked with a smile. "Yes, senior brother." Xiaohua took a step forward and respectfully replied. He handed the storage bag on his waist to Xiao Xianrui. "That's great. Now that you're here, we can relax." Xiao Xianrui felt as if a heavy burden had been lifted off her shoulders. She took the storage bag and handed some things over to Xiaohua. Looking at the things in his hand, Xiaohua asked curiously, "These are all used for alchemy?" "Of course, every time father refines alchemy, we have to prepare for a long time. It's quite complicated. I already told father to let you come, but your cultivation hasn't made any progress. Father has some misgivings." Xiao Xianrui didn't hide anything. "Hehe, please teach me, senior sister. In the future, this little brother will be responsible for the alchemy room," Xiaohua said with a warm voice. "Well, this time we're almost ready. Let's wait for the next time." Zhang Qingxiao curled her lips and said. Then, she walked towards the middle cave. Walking in front of the cave, Zhang Qingxiao pointed at the cave and said, "This is the real alchemy room." Then, she pointed to a yellow talisman on the left side of the cave and said, "This is a yellow talisman given by Master. Every time you come to the alchemy room, you have to stick the yellow talisman there. Otherwise, there will be an extremely powerful restriction in the alchemy room." When the 3 of them entered the cave, a hot breath hit their faces. Xiaohua was slightly stunned. When he saw the scene in the cave clearly, he couldn't help but be a little dazed. Because the layout of the alchemy room looked extremely familiar to him, as if he was very familiar with it. But this alchemy room was no different from an ordinary alchemy room. In the middle of the alchemy room, there was a huge alchemy furnace. The alchemy furnace's 3 legs were firmly standing on a platform. The platform was more than half a foot higher than the ground. On the left side of the alchemy furnace, there were a few rows of shelves with some scattered jade bottles on them. On the right side of the alchemy furnace, there were also some yellow talismans, some spirit stones, and some things similar to the ones in Xiaohua's hand. Some jade boxes that Xiaohua brought from the 100 Herbs Gate were also placed on the ground in front of the alchemy furnace. Around these jade boxes, there were more than 10 jade bottles. Xiaohua recognized these jade bottles as the absorption grass that he taught Xiao Yuehong. "Why is it like this? I don't think I've ever been here," Xiaohua secretly thought. "Hehe, how is it? Xiaohua? Aren't you shocked by this alchemy room?" Zhang Qingxiao put down the things in his hand and looked at Xiaohua's dazed expression. He smiled and said, "Although our Shanghuaming is a small sect in the country of Shi, the alchemy furnace in this alchemy room, it's comparable to the 3 major sects in the country of Shi." Xiaohua came back to his senses and put down the things in his hand. He smiled and said, "Second senior brother, please teach me. What's the difference between our Shanghuaming's alchemy room and other ordinary sects? Not every sect has alchemy skills. Otherwise, sects like the 100 Herbs Gate and the 10,000 Flowers Valley that specialize in alchemy would have no value in surviving. But even if other sects have alchemy skills, it's not very complete. They can only refine the most basic qi replenishing and healing pills. But our Shang Huaming is different. Although Master usually only refines the Parasol pill, he can also refine the Peiyuan pill, the Marrow Cleansing pill, and even the Foundation Establishment pill. Gong Mingwei said proudly. After Gong Mingwei finished speaking, Zhang Qingshao looked at the alchemy furnace in front of him and smiled. Do you see? This alchemy furnace is called Jihao. It's the alchemy furnace used by our Shang Huaming creation sect and has been passed down to this day. Although it's not famous in the country of Shi, I can tell you that it's more powerful than the 100 Herbs Gates Lianhua furnace. Xiaohua thought for a moment and asked, alchemy requires an alchemy furnace? Why is there a difference between alchemy furnaces? Zhang Qingshao looked like a good teacher. He walked to the front of the Jihao furnace and pointed at the platform below the alchemy furnace. Do you see? Below the platform is the earth fire, which is used for alchemy. If you don't have an alchemy furnace, how can you refine these spirit herbs and spirit fruits into pills? Xiaohua was stunned and said embarrassedly, second senior brother, your words don't seem to have answered my question. Don't listen to your second senior brother's nonsense. Gong Mingwei, who was standing at the side, couldn't stand it any longer and said with a smile, he only knows half of it. This alchemy technique is very mysterious. Even Master hasn't fully grasped it, let alone impart it to us. What he just said was Master's casual guidance. Then he glanced at Xiao Xianrui and turned his head again. According to Master, the alchemy technique can be used to refine foundation elixir, marrow cleansing elixir, and even elixir pills for the gold core stage. The alchemy technique at the bottom uses earth fire as the fuel and heart fire as the main fuel. The alchemy technique at the bottom uses earth fire as the fuel and heart fire as the main fuel. The alchemy furnace is even more special. According to the records of the sect, the alchemy furnace can be as big as a fist when refining alchemy pills. When refining alchemy pills, it can be as big as our Jihao when refining alchemy pills. Xiao Xianrui nodded her head and said, the alchemy technique at the bottom uses earth fire as the fuel and heart fire as the main fuel. The alchemy furnace is even more special. According to the records of the sect, the alchemy furnace can be as big as a fist when refining alchemy pills. When refining alchemy pills, it can be as big as our Jihao when refining alchemy pills. Hearing this, Xiao Xianrui sighed and said, alas, in fact, such an alchemy furnace can already be called a magic weapon. How can the alchemy furnace of Jihao, which can't even be called a magic tool, be compared to the alchemy furnace of Jihao? Xiao Hua was stunned. He knew that Xiao Yuehong's boat was a magic tool. Magic tools were more powerful than magic tools, but he didn't expect that in the high-level alchemy technique, just the alchemy furnace was a magic tool. So, junior sister, only the high-level alchemy technique can refine the legendary nascent soul pill. Our Jihao doesn't even dare to think about it. Nascent soul pill? Xiaohua asked curiously, what kind of pill is that? TSK, nascent soul pill. Zhang Qingxiao's face was fascinated. That's the key for nascent soul stage seniors to break through the nascent soul stage and enter the deification stage. Wow, then isn't it the same as the foundation pill? Xiaohua suddenly realized. Zhang Qingxiao didn't know whether to laugh or cry. She fiercely glared at him. You'll only be in the foundation building stage for the rest of your life. Every day you eat foundation building pills, don't you have a higher goal? Xiaohua curled his lips and said with a natural expression, I'm only in the first layer of the qi refining stage. If I don't want to build my foundation, can I still want to enter the deification stage? Listen carefully, senior brother is consolidating your Dao heart. Zhang Qingxiao saw that Xiaohua was unconvinced and almost jumped up. Gong Mingwei stood at the side and found it funny. He didn't stop Zhang Qingxiao. Zhang Qingxiao had always been a junior brother. It wasn't easy to have Xiao Hua, who was much younger than him, so how could he not take the airs of a senior brother? At this moment, Xiao Xianrui faintly said, "What eldest senior brother said is the ordinary division. According to father, it seems that above this high-level alchemy technique, there is an even higher-level alchemy technique." Oh? Really? When Zhang Qingxiao heard this, she immediately stopped educating Xiao Hua. She turned her head and asked, "What is it like?" The alchemy technique mentioned just now is strictly limited to the pill furnace. The quality of the medicinal pill depends largely on the quality of the pill furnace. If you don't have a high-level pill furnace, you can't refine higher-level medicinal pills. Could it be that there is an alchemy technique that doesn't use a pill furnace? Everyone was surprised. Chapter 1259. This. I don't know. I seem to have heard father talk about it, or perhaps father sighed. Xiao Xianrui shook her head. I remember when father failed to refine pills when I was a child. I happened to be on the side and heard father muttering, "Refining pills like this is difficult. Then how can one refine pills with heaven and earth as the furnace and Taoist heart as the flame?" At that time, I was also curious and asked what was heaven and earth as the furnace. Father only said that there was no need to use a furnace and nothing else. Seeing Gong Mingwei and the other two's somewhat disappointed expression, Xiao Xianrui smiled sweetly and said, "However, after I asked again, I found out that even father himself didn't know much about it. He only found a few words from the ancient books in the sect and knew that there was such a wonderful alchemy technique in this world. He didn't know anything else." Xiao Hua and the other two were even more disappointed. This was equivalent to not saying anything. "Well, everything is ready. Let's wait for master to refine pills in the next 2 days." Gong Mingwei clapped his hands and looked at the ground again. "There is enough saltpeter for the fire. Xiao Hua, remember to buy more next time you are in the market." "Yes, senior brother, remind me when the time comes," Xiao Hua said with a smile. "Okay," Gong Mingwei nodded naturally. Zhang Qingxiao was stunned at first, then she couldn't help but cover her mouth and hold back her laughter. Gong Mingwei looked at Zhang Qingxiao strangely and walked out of the alchemy room. Xiao Hua and the others followed him out. Gong Mingwei pointed to the cave on the right side of the alchemy room and said, "There are pills refined by master and the jade slip of alchemy in the sect. Without master's approval, you can't pass through the restriction in front of the door. Don't break in." "Yes, I know, senior brother." Xiao Hua nodded. After leaving the cave, Xiao Hua thought of something. He took out the exquisite yellow talisman from his arms and handed it to Xiao Xianrui. "Senior sister, this is an invitation talisman from 100 Herbs sect. Jiang'an asked me to bring it to senior sister. He said that if senior sister has time, please come to 100 Herbs sect to play." Xiao Xianrui took it with a smile and whispered, "This Jiang'an is really interesting. Can't he just send a message? Why waste time making an invitation talisman? They are 100 Herbs sect, rich and overbearing, they don't care about this waste." Zhang Qingxiao ridiculed. "Is there anything else?" Xiao Xianrui's beautiful eyes looked towards Xiao Hua. "Oh, there's also a Peiyuan pill that Jiang Fan asked me to bring." Xiao Hua stole a glance at Gong Mingwei and Zhang Qingxiao's faces and took out the jade bottle. Xiao Xianrui's face turned red, and there was a trace of joy in her eyes. She wanted to take it, but she was a little shy. She only said, "This thing. Father is going to refine it soon. Why would I want this? Xiao Hua, why don't you keep this? You'll need it for your cultivation." Why would Xiao Hua stay? He stuffed it into Xiao Xianrui's hand and said, "If young Master Jiang knows about this, I'll be in trouble." Gong Mingwei and Zhang Qingxiao exchanged glances, their eyes filled with regret and helplessness. They got up and flew towards Manushi Peak. "Thank you, junior brother." Xiao Xianrui put away the Peiyuan pill and nodded towards Xiao Hua. Her figure also flew over and shouted, eldest senior brother, wait for me, alas, why bother? Seeing Xiao Xianrui's appearance, Xiaohua knew that his senior sister's impression of Jiang Fan had greatly increased. He was afraid that his two senior brothers had no chance, but what could he do? Watching the three people fly away, Xiaohua directly returned to the medicine garden. After finishing the chores in the medicine garden, he sat down cross-legged and checked the situation in the space in his mind. While Xiaohua was talking with Xiao Yuehong, the puppet in the space had already opened up another piece of the medicine garden and was about to plant the black bamboo grass. In the original medicine garden, some of the black bamboo grass that Xiaohua had planted earlier were already 50 or 60 years old. Isn't it just some black bamboo grass? So secretive. Xiaohua didn't care whether Jiang Fan had difficulties or not. He attributed all of them to having ulterior motives. This young master has dozens of years old black bamboo grass here. It's just that there's no suitable reason to take them out. Thinking about this, Xiaohua took out some more than 20 years old black bamboo grass. He had to plant some in the medicine garden of Shihua Peak, otherwise Xiao Yuehong wouldn't be able to see them. While Xiaohua was planting the black bamboo grass in the medicine garden, the puppet in the space, under Xiaohua's command, opened up another medicine garden. In this medicine garden, Xiaohua was going to plant the useless and incomplete seeds he obtained from 100 Herbs Gate. The spiritual herbs in the space were also taken care of differently, so he just threw these seeds in there. If one or two of them could germinate and grow into an extremely rare spiritual herb, then Xiaohua would be rich. After finishing all this, Xiaohua regulated his breathing and cultivated while thinking. I heard that loose cultivator Chang Huan say that the 10,000 Flowers Valley has the marrow cleansing pill. I think I heard second senior brother say that this marrow cleansing pill can wash the marrow and refine the hair. It can improve a cultivator's physique the most. I haven't been able to make a breakthrough in my realm. Is it because I haven't taken the marrow cleansing pill? Alas, this marrow cleansing pill is probably too rare, otherwise the sect leader would have made me take it long ago. I still have time to ask about the marrow cleansing pills recipe and see if I can plant some of those spiritual herbs. After a few dozen days, they'll mature and I'll have the sect leader refine some more. This young master will eat one, and one more. I want to see if it can improve my cultivation. Right, if it's effective, I'll have the sect leader recruit a few more disciples. No, I'll recruit a few hundred more disciples. It's not like our Yellow Flower Ridge doesn't have a place. I'll have as many disciples as I can and let 100 Herbs Gate see that Shang Huaming isn't easy to bully. My senior sister doesn't have to insist on dual cultivation with their whatever young sect leader. At that time, I'll also be a senior brother and have a bunch of junior brothers under me. Should I also have the sect leader make some kind of flying magic tool? Xiaohua began to plan a beautiful future for himself and Shang Huaming. 2 fleeting days passed in Xiaohua's beautiful outline. Unfortunately, he didn't see Xiao Yuehong start to refine pills. Xiaohua was a little anxious. He unconsciously went to Wansi Peak to inquire about the situation. In fact, it wasn't a big deal. It was only because Xiao Yuehong felt that his injuries hadn't healed and he couldn't control the magic power in his body perfectly. He was afraid that he would destroy those precious origin-returning herbs. Xiaohua's inquiry made Xiao Yuehong laugh. What? Do you want to learn alchemy? It doesn't matter, Xiaohua, don't be impatient. As long as you learn our sect's alchemy technique, even if you're in the first layer of the aura refining realm for the rest of your life, Master will guarantee that you'll enter Shang Huaming's door. Xiaohua was embarrassed. He knew that alchemy was Shang Huaming's secret. At the same time, it was extremely difficult to learn. Even his 3 senior brothers, who had been in the aura refining realm for more than 10 years, hadn't learned anything. How could he dare to belittle himself? He could only smile and say, "Sect leader must be joking. This disciple just wants to take the Peiyuan pill as soon as possible. How could I dare to covet alchemy techniques?" Then his eyes turned and he asked, "That's right, sect leader, this disciple heard that there is a marrow cleansing pill in the 10,000 Flower Valley. What kind of spiritual grass is used to refine this thing? Oh, I, Shang Huaming, also have the pill recipe for the marrow cleansing pill, but you haven't entered Shang Huaming's door yet, so I can't tell you for the time being. Xiao Yueheng smiled and said. Then he glanced at Xiao Hua and somewhat understood. Do you think you should take the marrow cleansing pill? Sect leader's insight is like a torch. This disciple is also looking for a way to improve my realm. Xiao Hua nodded and said, perhaps this disciple's foundation isn't good. After using the marrow cleansing pill to cleanse my body, there will be some effect? Xiao Yueheng shook his head slightly. Your situation seems to have nothing to do with the marrow cleansing pill. You practiced the first layer of Shang Huaming's cultivation method very easily. This shows that aptitude isn't the main reason. Oh, of course, if you have the chance, you can give it a try. After thinking for a while, Xiao Yueheng muttered to himself, the main ingredients used to refine the marrow cleansing pill are black stallion and lumberwood. I, Shang Huaming, didn't plant these two spiritual grasses. If there's a trade next time, I'll have Ming Wei and the others trade for some. Then he suddenly raised his head and looked at Xiao Hua, very surprised. Huh? Xiao Hua, why haven't you left yet? Xiao Hua stared blankly and immediately understood. He smiled and said, this disciple wants to tell sect leader that this disciple will go take a look nearby and look for some hidden places to see if I can find anything good. Go quickly, go quickly. If you can find some old spiritual grasses, Master will start refining pills tomorrow and give you half of the refined Peiyuan pill. Xiao Yueheng waved his hand, an impatient expression on his face. Xiao Hua bowed and saluted, then turned around and flew into the depths of Yellow Flower Ridge. In the past 2 days, the black stallion brought back from 100 Herbs Gate had already matured in the space. In addition to the black stallion that Xiao Hua originally planted, it was enough to refine the marrow cleansing pill. Xiao Hua originally wanted to find an excuse to pick it. Today, when he saw Xiao Yueheng telling him the main ingredient of the marrow cleansing pill without hesitation, of course he was very grateful. He immediately went to find a place to look for it. After flying for a while, he arrived at a hidden place led by Little White. Xiao Hua went in and unexpectedly ran into Little White in the hidden stream of water. Little White hadn't seen Xiao Hua for several days and was very affectionate. It wrapped itself around Xiao Hua's arm and was really sick of it for a while. Xiao Hua patted Little White's head, then used a tool to randomly move an area that he had already picked, making it look like it had just been picked. Then he reached into his bosom and found a message talisman from the pile of yellow talismans that Xiao Yueheng had given him. After saying a few words, he urged his magic power and the yellow talisman turned into a scarlet brilliance and flew out. After that, Xiao Hua took out enough black tusk grass and some other miscellaneous spirit herbs from his space. He held them in his hand and slowly flew out from the hidden place. Just as Xiao Hua flew out, he heard Zhang Qingxiao's excited shout in the air. Xiao Hua, are you lying to us? Here. Second senior brother Xiao Hua had a smile on his face and shouted. Here, senior brother, quickly, here. Zhang Qingxiao shouted and landed first. Behind him, Gong Mingwei and Xiao Xianrui's faces were filled with excitement and disbelief. Where is the black tusk grass? Let me see. Gong Mingwei was still flying in the air and shouted. That can't be right, Xiao Hua, did you step on dog shit outside? Zhang Qingxiao's eyes were sharp. Before he landed in front of Xiao Hua, he saw the spirit herbs in Xiao Hua's hand and screamed and laughed. Chapter 1260. At this time, Gong Mingwei and Xiao Xianrui also saw it and their faces were filled with joy. When the three of them landed, Xiao Hua handed over the black bamboo grass and asked nervously, two senior brothers, and senior sister, this little brother looks similar to the black bamboo grass I brought before, and there are some big differences. I don't dare to confirm, so I wanted to let senior brother come over and take a look. Don't make a mistake and let the sect master punish me. Good boy, Xiaohua, master can't wait to see these rewards. How can he bear to punish you? Zhang Qingxiao looked at the black bamboo grass in her hand and smiled. Eldest senior brother, look, this is 70 or 80 years old black bamboo grass. And these Wuji grass and blood-devouring grass are also 70 or 80 years old. Yes, these old spirit herbs, I have seen them in East City, they are exactly like this. Gong Mingwei nodded, pointed to the black bamboo grass in his hand, and said with a smile, don't talk about the ones in your hand, just these 30 years old black bamboo grass are enough. Xiaohua, where did you find these spirit herbs? Xiao Xianrui was excited and a little surprised. It's all because of this. Xiaohua raised Little White on his arm and said, I met this little snake in the cold pond. Last time it wanted to bite me, I grabbed it 7 inches and almost pinched it to death. Later, it learned and became very close to me. Just now, I came here under the sect master's order to find spirit herbs, and I saw it actually drilling into a small cave. I saw that I could also drill into that small cave, so I thought about the absorption fruit last time, and on a whim, I drilled into it, and the result. I really found these. No way, you drilled into a cave again? Zhang Qingxiao looked at the cave behind Xiaohua that was not high, and very well hidden, and shouted exaggeratedly. Yes, second senior brother, if you don't believe me, you can go and see. Xiaohua smiled and nodded. Zhang Qingxiao and Gong Mingwei looked at each other, and flew in one after the other. After a moment, they came back and sighed, Xiaohua. I don't know how to praise you, there are only so many spirit herbs in the cave, and you picked them all, you are really amazing. Let's go and tell father that he must still be worried about the black tusk grass. Otherwise, he wouldn't have delayed the concoction. Xiao Xianrui said with a smile. When he saw the black bamboo grass that he urgently needed, Xiao Yuehong's expression was incomparably speechless. He was just joking with Xiaohua a moment ago. He never thought that Xiaohua would find these black tusks grass after getting the rare absorption fruit. Moreover, there were many other spirit grasses. The look in his eyes was complicated. Xiao Yuehong didn't know if he should suspect the disciple he picked up here and hadn't even entered the sect yet. He should be praised. The discovery of these 2 spiritual herbs was really strange. Xiaohua saw the complicated look in Xiao Yuehong's eyes and felt awkward in his heart. Yes, anyone would be suspicious, but who asked Shang Huaming to be so poor? Refining a Peiyuan pill already took a lot of effort. If he didn't take out all these spiritual herbs, he wouldn't be able to improve his cultivation. Looks like I'll have to be careful the next time I get the exquisite grass. Don't let the sect leader chase me down the mountain. Xiaohua thought about his sect's revitalization plan and couldn't help but feel sullen. However, he wasn't afraid. He wouldn't tell anyone about it and no one would find out. Xiao Yuehong could only suspect. Xiaohua, where did you find this? Xiao Yuehong calmed his mind and began to interrogate. Master, it's... Zhang Qingxiao said excitedly. I didn't ask you to say. Xiao Yuehong snorted and scolded. Father. Xiao Xianrui saw and knew that her father was suspicious. Thinking of Xiaohua's kindness, she immediately reminded him, Xiaohua just found the spirit grasses and sent us a communication talisman. I heard Xiaohua say that he also left here just now. Xiao Xianrui said softly. And I know, Xiao Yuehong sighed and glanced at Xiaohua. Tell me, how did you find it? Xiaohua's face was still filled with excitement as he repeated what he just said. Let's go take master to see it. Xiao Yuehong's words were obviously relaxed. After seeing the mess in the hidden cave, Xiao Yuehong was speechless again. He turned to Gong Mingwei and scolded, Boss, didn't you give Xiaohua the grass gathering technique or the gathering talisman? Gong Mingwei said embarrassedly, Master, Xiaohua is just at the first level of qi refining. I'm afraid he can't use the grass gathering technique. As for the gathering talisman, it's quite expensive. When we went to the e-market, disciple didn't exchange it. At this time, Xiao Yuehong remembered that the 3 people from the market only brought back the peacock illusion. They didn't bring back anything else. First, give me the grass gathering technique. Xiao Yuehong said with a smile. Congratulations, junior brother, congratulations, junior brother. Zhang Qingxiao immediately cupped his hands and congratulated. Seeing Xiao Hua's surprised expression, Xiao Xianrui pursed her lips and said, the grass gathering technique is taught by 3rd-level qi refining disciples. Father will accept you as his disciple. Ah! Xiao Hua was overjoyed. Just as he was about to speak, Xiao Yuehong waved his hand. Don't say it yet. Wait until your cultivation reaches the 3rd level of qi refining or until you learn the art of pill concocting. If I accept you now, I'm afraid your cultivation will slack off in the future. Yes, sect master, disciple understands. Xiao Hua replied respectfully. That's right, master, if Xiao Hua can find another 300 years old Ling Long grass, will you directly accept him? Zhang Qingxiao asked from the side. Do you think it's that easy to find Ling Long grass? Then, he was also moved. He looked at Xiao Hua from the side and said, Master wants to see your luck. If you find another 300-year-old Ling Long grass tomorrow, Master will accept you as his disciple. Xiao Hua's face was filled with ecstasy. He said with a face full of disbelief, Sect Master, you aren't joking, right? Xiao Yuehong glared at him. Joking? Of course I'm joking. Tomorrow, Master will open the cauldron to concoct pills. Don't tell me you want to drill holes all over the mountain. After he finished speaking, he flew back to Minisu Peak without looking back. What does Sect Master mean? Xiao Hua turned his head and pretended not to know. Boy, your luck. AI, there's nothing to say about it. Zhang Qingxiao looked at the cave again, as if she wanted to remember the characteristics of this cave and go look for it herself. Little junior brother, you should first learn alchemy and observe Master concoct pills. That's a rare opportunity for disciples. As for the Ling Long grass, put it aside first. That thing is too rare. Even if you turn the entire yellow flower ridge upside down, I'm afraid you won't be able to find it. Xiao Hua laughed in his heart. He really couldn't imagine how surprised they would be if he put a 300-year-old Ling Long grass in front of them a year later. The next day, Xiao Hua was waiting respectfully at the entrance of the pill room on Shihua Peak very early. Looking at the pill room that he had just visited, his heart was not calm. In the past, the spiritual herbs and other things that Xiao Yuehong needed were all placed at the entrance of the cave. From today onwards, he could finally learn alchemy openly. Late in the morning, Gong Mingwei and the other 2 also arrived at the entrance of the pill room on time. Their faces were solemn. Even Zhang Qingxiao had a straight face, without her usual playfulness. You've all come? A drawn-out voice sounded in the air. Xiao Yuehong flew over on a flying boat. He was wearing the correct Taoist robe and looked full of energy, unlike his usual lazy self. Welcome, Master. Gong Mingwei and the other 2 shouted loudly and bowed. Xiao Hua didn't say anything, but he also respectfully saluted. Xiao Yuehong waved his sleeve and a gentle force supported the 4 people. He said solemnly, Today, Master will be refining the Peiyuan pill. It's a good opportunity for you to observe, don't miss it. Xiao Hua, this is your first time watching, so just remember the steps carefully. As for the details, Master will slowly explain them to you in the future. If you have any superficial questions, you can ask your 2 senior brothers after the pill refining. However, when Master is concocting pills, don't talk too much. Yes, Sect Master. Xiao Hua said with a serious face. It's not that Master is demanding of you, but because this time is unusual, you can ask again when the parasol pill is refined next time. Xiao Yuehong thought that these spiritual herbs were all found by Xiao Hua and felt embarrassed, so he added. Yes, Sect Master. Xiao Hua still nodded. Xiao Yuehong didn't say anything else and led the way into the pill room. Gong Mingwei and the other two entered one by one, with Xiaohua following behind. Mingwei, go ignite the earth fire. Xiao Yuehong sat cross-legged in front of the pill furnace for a moment and said to Gong Mingwei, who was standing respectfully beside him. Gong Mingwei didn't answer and walked to the things he had prepared before. He took out several pieces of saltpeter and placed them on the platform below the pill furnace in a very orderly manner. Then, he picked up a yellow talisman and urged it with magic power. The yellow talisman was ignited, and the already dry pill room became even hotter. The air was almost ignited. Xiaohua knew that this yellow talisman was a fire talisman, which was secretly made by the Raging Flame School and contained a trace of earth fire essence. Sure enough, seeing the yellow talisman lit, Gong Mingwei didn't dare to be negligent and pointed his finger. The yellow talisman turned into a ball of flame and flew under the pill furnace, in the middle of several pieces of saltpeter. Ting-ting, several muffled sounds rang out in succession, and those pieces of saltpeter were also ignited. After finishing this, Gong Mingwei retreated to the side. Xiao Yuehong expressionlessly stepped forward and beckoned with his hand. A small fiery red gourd flew into his hand. Then, Xiao Yuehong struck the gourd with a spell and waved his left hand. The gourd spat out an azure flame like a thin line of fire and flew into the flames produced by the fire talisman and the fire talisman. The originally yellow flames instantly turned azure. Xiao Yuehong tossed his hand and that small gourd flew to the side of the pill furnace. It quietly floated in the air and didn't move. Xiao Yuehong's expression was respectful and solemn at this time. He actually closed his eyes and his hands slowly waved. A seemingly complicated and mysterious spell gradually formed in his hands. However, just as Xiao Yuehong completed the spell in his hands and urged the magic power in his body to send this spell into the azure flames, Zhang Xiaohua, who was watching from the side, had a kind of astonishment, a kind of sudden realization, or a kind of inexplicable expression. Chapter 1261. It was no wonder that Xiaohua was astonished. It was also no wonder that the expression on Xiaohua's face was extremely complicated. It was because the spell Xiao Yuehong used looked very familiar to Xiaohua. It was as if he could also use this spell. However, as Xiao Yuehong completed the spell, Xiaohua shook his head slightly. Xiao Yuehong's spell looked very familiar, but the details were poles apart from what he felt in his heart. Moreover, Xiaohua faintly felt that Xiao Yuehong's spell seemed to be used incorrectly, or perhaps there was a mistake somewhere. As a result, Xiaohua's fingers, which were hanging on both sides of his body, unconsciously moved slightly. Just as his fingers moved slightly, Xiaohua suddenly shook his head and secretly said, "Is there a mistake? Sect Master's spell can only be used by Foundation Establishment stage cultivators. How could I use it? Even if I knew it 3 years ago, I didn't have any cultivation. How could I know alchemy?" While Xiaohua was thinking, Xiao Yuehong's spell had already struck the cyan flame. The flame received Xiao Yuehong's magic power and suddenly shrank. It only felt that the entire alchemy room had become hotter. After the cyan flame shrank for a few breaths, a faint rumbling sound came from the platform. "Oh, Sect Master's spell is used to ignite the fire." Xiaohua thought very naturally in his heart, but this spell, before it is used, saltpeter and a fire-igniting talisman are used. If it can directly ignite the earth fire, then it will be the real fire-igniting spell. With a boom, the platform under the alchemy furnace suddenly burned. The bright yellow flame with a trace of cyan color wrapped the entire bottom of the alchemy furnace. "All right," Xiao Yuehong nodded slightly, "igniting the earth fire, this alchemy furnace needs to be warm for a while." "Xiaohua, do you have some doubts?" Xiaohua was just about to say no, but after thinking quickly, he said, "Sect Master, disciple, feels that if you directly strike the spell on the earth fire, wouldn't it save eldest senior brother and the others from going to East City to exchange saltpeter and fire-igniting talismans?" Pfft! Xiao Yuehong didn't laugh, but Gong Mingwei and the other two laughed first. "AI, future little junior brother, it's easy for you to say that. Didn't eldest senior brother already tell you about the difference in alchemy yesterday? Zhang Qingxiao couldn't help laughing as she said, what you're talking about is a high-level alchemy technique that even the three great sects of the country of Shi may not have mastered. Shang Huaming, although. Cough, master, please tell me. Zhang Qingxiao stole a glance at Xiao Yuehong and didn't dare to continue. It's nothing. Xiao Yuehong waved his hand. Shang Huaming's alchemy skills are quite low. I'm not afraid of others talking about it. Then, he looked at the cauldron with green and yellow flames licking it and said in disappointment, Qing Xiao is right. I, Shang Huaming, am from a small sect. It's already not bad that I have alchemy skills. I don't have high hopes for you. I only hope that you can pass down this low-grade alchemy skill. Yes, master. Your disciple has already tried his best to learn. Of course, Gong Mingwei was a little embarrassed. Xiao Yuehong didn't say this just once or twice. But their comprehension of alchemy wasn't as good as their cultivation. Not to mention the fire-drawing art, even if Xiao Yuehong set up the cauldron and let them refine ordinary pills, they couldn't do it. Alright, everyone will do their best. Xiao Yuehong was very open-minded, but his eyes were looking at Xiao Hua. I hope you can stand out. Yes, your disciple understands. Xiao Hua nodded. Then, Xiao Yuehong saw that the cauldron had been warmed up. He changed the seal in his hand again. He pointed his hand, and a small oval hole opened in the cauldron. Xiao Yuehong waved his hand, and the jade box containing the vitality-absorbing fruit and black tusk grass flew to the cauldron. The cauldron opened automatically, and the spiritual herbs flew into the cauldron. After a while, Xiao Yuehong also put several other kinds of herbs into the cauldron. Then, he pointed his hand, and a seal was cast on the cauldron. The cauldron closed, and the cauldron emitted a soft buzzing sound. Among the four people next to him, Gong Mingwei and the other two watched intently, as if they wanted to memorize all of Xiao Yuehong's seals. As for Xiao Hua, he was even more stunned than before. This was because all of Xiao Yuehong's actions were familiar to Xiao Hua. He even knew the use of these actions and seals very easily. It was as if Xiao Hua himself also knew alchemy. I really know alchemy? What kind of background do I have? Xiao Hua was both alarmed and somewhat delighted. After all, alchemy was something only Foundation establishment cultivators knew. He was actually proficient in it at such a young age. Of course, it was an amazing thing. When the cauldron emitted a faint rumbling sound, Xiao Yuehong let out a sigh of relief. He secretly wiped the sweat from his forehead, turned his head to look, and said with a smile, Xiao Hua, are you dazed? Xiao Hua came to his senses and said embarrassedly, yes, sect master. Disciple, is indeed dazzled. I don't know what to ask. And, don't panic. This alchemy technique needs to be seen more, learned more, and asked more. After you have a foundation, you can practice more and use more. Then, you'll have some small success. Xiao Yuehong said with a smile, however, your eyes are clear, strange, and confused. Compared to your two senior martial brothers, you're a lot stronger. Master, everyone should do their best. This is what you said. Zhang Qingxiao retorted in a low voice. Xiao Hua smiled. After thinking for a moment, he asked, Sect Master, if disciple wants to practice alchemy, but I only have the magic power of the first layer of the Qi refining realm, I naturally don't need to think about it. Then, is there a yellow talisman like the art of guiding fire that can be used? Of course. Without waiting for Xiao Yuehong to answer, Xiao Xianrui smiled and said, in East City, there are a lot of these things. After all, our country of Shi has very few Foundation establishment cultivators. Moreover, they all cultivate in peace. They rarely open their cauldrons to refine pills. Therefore, in each sect, most of them are Qi refining disciples. For this reason, the Raging Flames School's special saltpeter, fire guiding talisman, fire controlling talisman, Three-Yang talisman, and so on, as well as the Black Pill School's special elixir guiding talisman, elixir control talisman, elixir condensing talisman, elixir receiving talisman, and other yellow talismans are all used by these disciples. However, the price of these yellow talismans is really expensive. You have to use a lot of spirit stones to exchange for them. Moreover, alchemy is a delicate job. If you only use yellow talismans, won't anyone be able to refine pills? Therefore, even with these yellow talismans, alchemy is still difficult. It's far from being able to directly exchange them for pills. Gong Mingwei continued, otherwise, why is Master's Wutsang pill so popular in East City? It's also because of this reason. Xiaohua had some understanding. He knew that even if he didn't have magic power and couldn't support the alchemy technique, as long as he had the necessary yellow talismans, he could still refine pills. Moreover, alchemy, in the end, deviates from cultivation. If you focus too much on other things, your cultivation won't be able to increase. Therefore, many people don't like alchemy. Xiao Yuehong said. Just as he was speaking, the cauldron suddenly shook slightly, causing Xiao Yuehong's expression to change. He hurriedly formed a few hand seals to stabilize the cauldron. Then, as if he was still worried, he clenched his teeth and took out a yellow talisman from his storage bag. The yellow talisman looked extremely shabby, but there was a faint brilliance on it. It was somewhat different from what Xiaohua usually saw. Xiao Yuehong urged his magic power. The yellow talisman flashed and a ball of brilliant brilliance escaped from the yellow talisman. Xiao Yuehong pointed his finger and the brilliance flew to the cauldron and disappeared. Then, Xiao Yuehong carefully put the yellow talisman into his storage bag. That was close. Xiao Yuehong said to himself, I was a bit careless. The spiritual herbs I refined this time are all very old. The control of this technique also requires exquisite control. Then, he swept his divine sense and said to Gong Mingwei, Mingwei, Master will go to the side to rest for a while and recover my magic power. You all watch carefully again. If there's anything wrong, immediately send a message to me. After Gong Mingwei agreed, Xiao Yuehong left the alchemy room and went straight to rest. Xiaohua frowned and asked, eldest senior brother, what kind of yellow talisman did Master use at the end? What's the point of keeping it if it's already used up? That's a pellet fusing talisman. Gong Mingwei said with a smile, Master has a pellet fusing talisman that was personally made by an elder of the Qiandan sect in his early years. That elder was a senior in the late stage of the Foundation establishment realm, so this pellet fusing talisman is a high-grade yellow talisman that can be used many times. Master was afraid that he wasn't proficient enough in the pellet fusing talisman, so he always carried this yellow talisman with him when refining pills. However, Master usually doesn't use it. It's just that today is too important, so Master took it out. Zhang Qingxiao said. Alright, this Peiyuan pill will take 7 days to refine. The 4 of us will stand guard. If we see anything abnormal, we'll immediately notify Master. Gong Mingwei said, right now, it's stable, so let Xiaohua stand guard. Yes, eldest senior brother. Xiaohua wasn't surprised that refining pills would take 7 days. I'll accompany Xiaohua. Zhang Qingxiao said with a smile, if we go out, we'll have to go back to the tranquil cave. It's better to stay here. It's always warm here. Master told us to stay in the tranquil cave to improve our cultivation. If you stay here, won't you be slacking off? Gong Mingwei scolded. It's Xiaohua's first time standing guard. I'm afraid something will happen. Zhang Qingxiao said confidently. Gong Mingwei was helpless. After thinking about it, he also felt that it was reasonable. He turned around and left with Xiao Xinrui. After the 2 of them left, Xiaohua and Zhang Qingxiao sat cross-legged in front of the pill furnace. They looked at the yellow flame in silence. Xiaohua. After a while, Zhang Qingxiao spoke. Second senior brother? What's the matter? Hearing Zhang Qingxiao's cold voice, Xiao Hua was slightly stunned. You were standing behind me just now. What were your fingers doing? Zhang Qingxiao stared straight at Xiao Hua and suddenly asked. Me? Xiao Hua didn't expect Zhang Qingxiao to notice the changes in his fingers. He was stunned for a moment, then said casually, I saw that the spell in Sect Master's hand was marvelous and wanted to learn it. Is that so? Zhang Qingxiao narrowed her eyes. It seems that the spell in your hand is different from Master's. Xiao Hua was even more shocked. He immediately shouted, Second senior brother, how could I know if the spell was right or wrong? I was just following Sect Master's spell. That's a spell from a Foundation establishment cultivator. Of course I'd make a mistake. If you like this work, you're welcome to come to Qidian. Chapter 1262. Xiao Hua. Zhang Qingxiao looked at Xiao Hua with a complicated expression, her tone somewhat cold. Maybe Master and eldest senior brother didn't pay attention to you, but I was right beside you just now. I originally wanted to secretly explain Master's technique and movements to you, but who would have thought that even I, a 10th level aura refining second senior brother, couldn't understand this technique. You're only at the first level, yet you could understand it the first time you saw it? You could use your fingers to imitate it? Xiao Hua was a bit shocked just now. He only focused on Xiao Yuehong's technique and didn't notice that his abnormality was actually seen by Zhang Qingxiao. Just as Xiao Hua was about to speak, Zhang Qingxiao shook her head slightly. Xiao Hua, ever since the 10,000 Poisons sect attacked my Death Flower Great Formation, you seem to have changed into a different person. You've changed a lot in the past 3 years. Could it be that you were taken over by someone else? Xiao Hua smiled bitterly. Second senior brother, you're really funny. I'm only a first-level aura refining boy. If someone wanted to take over my body, why wouldn't they look for you? Instead, they looked for me. Bah, Zhang Qingxiao spat on the ground. Who knows? Maybe you were taken over 3 years ago. Alas, I don't know myself. Xiao Hua shook his head sadly. It's already been 3 years. I don't have the slightest impression of my past. Then you should think about it again. Zhang Qingxiao said meaningfully. But there's one thing I can tell you. Last time, you found the small cave where the absorption fruit was. I didn't go in. But today, I seem to have drilled into this cave when I was a child. There doesn't seem to be any spiritual plants inside. Zhang Qingxiao used the word seems twice in a row, and her tone wasn't certain. Second senior brother. Xiao Hua smiled bitterly again. Just as he was about to explain, Zhang Qingxiao waved her hand to stop him. This Death Flower Great Formation and Yellow Flower Ridge are the places I grew up in. Master, eldest senior brother, and junior sister are also the people closest to me in this world. I definitely won't let them hurt anyone. No matter who it is, as long as they dare to hurt them, even if I go to the 9th heaven, the 9th level of hell, even if I fall into the devil's path or the ghost path, I won't forgive them. Speaking up to here, Zhang Qingxiao's eyes flashed with a trace of sternness as she coldly swept her gaze over Xiao Hua. These words sounded cold, but Xiao Hua's heart was warm. He calmly said, Second senior brother, although I don't know where I came from, and I can't remember all the things that happened in the past, I've lived on Yellow Flower Ridge for 3 years, and I know that Master and senior brother have treated me well. Especially this time, when I went out, I felt the kinship of Shang Huaming. These 3 years have been like second senior brother in your 20s. Since second senior brother has the heart to protect Shang Huaming, how can I not? If it weren't for the fact that little brother's heart was set on killing Hua Ming, how could the heavens be moved? How did you let me find the spiritual herbs in a secret place? And the Peiyuan pill refined from these spiritual herbs, second senior brother, don't you need to take it? Zhang Qingxiao's eyes turned, and she immediately changed her expression. She reached out and hugged Xiao Hua, who was almost a head taller than her, and said with a smile, "Good junior brother, second senior brother was just testing you just now. You've already taken out the precious spiritual herbs. Even if you're a spy from another sect, this sacrifice is really big. Second senior brother will not bicker with you on account of your contribution of the Peiyuan pill." Xiao Hua saw that Zhang Qingxiao had recovered her usual mischievous expression, and her face was relaxed, but her heart was absolutely not relaxed. He knew that this second senior brother was not just saying empty words, and was definitely not testing him. However, he did not have any intentions towards Shang Huaming, so naturally, he was not afraid of his so-called testing. Sect leader has promised that as long as I find the black bamboo grass, half of this Peiyuan pill will be mine. When the time comes, don't fight with me for it. Xiao Hua said with a smile. Come on, junior brother, look at your stingy appearance. Do you think senior brother cares about your Peiyuan pill? Zhang Qingxiao laughed and said, the Peiyuan pill is a pill that we've all taken together. If we take it again this time, I'm afraid the effect won't be great. Oh. Why is that? Xiao Hua was a little puzzled. Zhang Qingxiao glanced at him and muttered, You don't even know this? Looks like you're really not a spy. Then, she explained, the most essential aspect of the advancement of a realm is the improvement of one's cultivation base and the comprehension of the realm. However, at each stage, one can use pills to break through the realm. Of course, relying on pills to break through the realm has its advantages and disadvantages. The advantage is that it can reduce the time of cultivation, and use rare pills to achieve 10 years or even dozens of years of cultivation. The disadvantage is that a pill is only useful for one realm. Taking it again and again will have no effect. Moreover, the magic power obtained from taking the pill is ultimately not from one's own cultivation, so there will be some impact on one's future cultivation. These effects may not be obvious when one's cultivation base is low. When one cultivates to a high level, it will appear. Zhang Qingxiao smiled bitterly. But, how many people can reach a high level of cultivation? Therefore, this pill has long become the main method of breaking through the realm. Otherwise, 100 Herbs Gate would not be so popular. Zhang Qingxiao mentioned 100 Herbs Gate for no reason, and clenched her teeth tightly. Xiao Hua was nervous and said anxiously, Since you've already taken the Peiyuan pill, then. Second senior brother, these pills refined by sect master, if you take them, won't they have no effect? Seeing Xiao Hua anxious, Zhang Qingxiao blushed with shame for her guess just now. She patted Xiao Hua's shoulder and said, It's okay. In the past, when we were poor, the Peiyuan pill we gave you was also squeezed out by master. We've been cultivating for so many years, how could we have enough Peiyuan pill to take? 1 or 2 Peiyuan pill were all exchanged from the market, and their quality was greatly reduced. It has little effect on the advancement of the realm. It's also because we've taken inferior Peiyuan pill before that master went deep into Yellow Flower Ridge this time to refine a better Peiyuan pill to help you and me advance in the realm. That's good, Xiao Hua breathed a sigh of relief. It wasn't easy for him to find an excuse to take out all the spiritual herbs. If they were useless, wouldn't it be annoying? But you, Xiao Hua, you've only just reached the first level of qi refining. If you take the Peiyuan pill refined by master and want to rely on Peiyuan pill to advance in the future, it'll be troublesome. You have to use something better than the Peiyuan pill. Zhang Qingxiao reminded him with concern, If it were me, I would think about it carefully. Thank you for the reminder, second senior brother. Xiao Hua said with a smile, Little brother is already so big, but I'm still at the first level of qi refining. What level do you think I can cultivate to? Hee, just pretend I didn't say anything, Xiao Hua. Zhang Qingxiao smiled apologetically. She looked at the stable cauldron above the fire and said, Just watch, this cauldron is really boring. Me, eldest senior brother, and junior sister can't do it. Right, when you went out, do you still have the summoning talisman that master gave you? Yes, master didn't take a single one of those talismans, he said it was a reward for me. That's good, you keep watch. If there's anything wrong, immediately inform master. Yes, I understand, second senior brother. Xiao Hua said respectfully. After Zhang Qingxiao left, Xiao Hua sat cross-legged by himself, looking at the cauldron. His heart was in turmoil, not because of anything else, but because of Zhang Qingxiao's probing just now. Yes, although I'm a disciple of Shang Huaming who hasn't entered the sect, but after all, I was picked up by the sect master from the foot of the mountain 3 years ago. My life and origin are unknown. I can't compare to eldest senior brother and second senior brother who grew up in Yellow Flower Ridge and know everything about me. Xiao Hua thought to himself. In these 3 years, he had gotten used to living in Shanghuaming and had already treated Shanghuaming as his own home. He had never thought about his past. 18 years, where did I spend my 18 years before this? Thinking about this, Xiao Hua took out the broken, snake-like small ring. This thing was the only thing on his body after he woke up. Perhaps this snake-like ring was the only proof of his life that he had found. But, this thing, what is it? Xiao Hua looked at it for a long time, but couldn't figure it out. Forget it, this thing is really hard to guess. I'd better stay in Shanghuaming and make Shanghuaming into a big sect. Only when Shanghuaming is famous in the country of Xi, or even the Xiaoyu continent, can I easily find my origin. Because of the spiritual herbs in his mind, Xiao Hua couldn't help but have lofty aspirations. Second senior brother is kind-hearted, but since I can grow the absorption fruit, I can naturally grow other spiritual herbs and other medicinal pills? It's not necessarily difficult. Xiao Hua put the snake-like ring into his space and thought to himself, but pill recipes and alchemy are big things? If I don't understand these, how can I get medicinal pills? That's right, E-City. Xiao Hua's eyes lit up. I can take the spiritual herbs to E-City to exchange for medicinal pills. But then Xiao Hua became depressed. If my cultivation doesn't improve, how can I dare to go to E-City? I'm afraid I'll be targeted and robbed clean. Moreover, the medicinal pills in E-City are scarce and not easy to exchange. The quality is also poor, so it's better to refine them myself. When will I have to ask the sect master to get me some yellow talismans for alchemy? I want to see if I can really refine pills. Thinking about this, Xiao Hua stretched out his hand and moved it slightly in front of his eyes. His 10 fingers were constantly moving, as if he was forming some kind of magic art. However, this magic art was completely based on the instinct of his hands. Xiao Hua didn't have the slightest memory of it, but it was this instinctive movement that seemed much more obscure and difficult than Xiao Yuehong's magic art. Under the pill furnace, the greenish-yellow earth fire swayed up and down. The bright flower stone on the stone wall was brightly lit. Inside the pill room, only Xiao Hua's figure was elongated by the light of the fire. He slightly waved his hand, casting his shadow on the stone wall behind him. Although there wasn't the slightest bit of spiritual energy gathering, that momentum, that movement, contained some kind of obscure, profound meaning. Alchemy was really boring. Aside from Xiao Yuehong coming over to take a look at the pill furnace at fixed times, forming a few hand seals, or casting a few yellow talismans, the rest had to face the dry and hot earth fire and the unromantic pill furnace. Therefore, although it was agreed that 4 people would be on duty in advance, ever since Xiao Hua began his shift, the people in the pill room had never changed. However, it was precisely because Xiao Hua was the only one watching over the pill furnace that every time Xiao Hua closed his eyes to cultivate at night, a strange kind of starlight would shoot over, and there would always be some starlight enveloping the pill furnace. Chapter 1263. Alright, 7 days have passed. This Peiyuan pill should be almost ready. When Xiao Yuehong stood in front of the pill furnace and said this, Gong Mingwei and the other 2 gathered in the pill room. Zhang Qingxiao winked at Xiao Hua. Gong Mingwei and the others also nodded at him. Xiao Hua smiled and returned the greeting. Everyone else felt that he was working very hard in the pill room. However, Xiaohua understood that although he hadn't found any clues about his origins in the past 7 days, when faced with the pill furnace, the earth fire, the spells Xiao Yuehong used on the pill furnace, and the use of various yellow talismans, he already knew that he must have been able to concoct pills in the past. Moreover, after observing the entire concoction process of the Peiyuan pill, Xiaohua knew in his heart that if the conditions permitted, he might be able to concoct the same pill. Of course, this condition required a series of yellow talismans, earth fire, and even a fire gourd. Xiao Yuehong stepped forward and scanned the pill furnace with his divine sense. A satisfied expression appeared on his face. How is it? Father, this Peiyuan pill. Can we use it? Xiao Xianrui saw Xiao Yuehong's expression and was overjoyed. It shouldn't be a problem. Because there was still one more spell to be cast, Xiao Yuehong didn't dare to make any assertions. Everyone, back off a bit. Xiao Yuehong thought for a moment, then took out a yellow talisman from his storage bag. With a solemn expression, he activated his magic power. The yellow talisman instantly turned into a dark green brilliance and shot into the pill furnace, disappearing without a trace. This is the core condensing talisman. Zhang Qingxiao lowered her voice and said to Xiao Hua. Cough, cough. Xiao Yuehong coughed twice and swept his gaze behind him. Zhang Qingxiao shrunk her neck slightly and didn't dare to say another word. Xiao Yuehong turned to look at the pill furnace. He took a deep breath and cast the spell in his hand. Just as Xiao Hua expected, he also knew that the next spell should be used to condense the pill. After the time it took for an incense stick to burn, Xiao Yuehong's forehead was covered in sweat. Seeing that Xiao Yuehong made a mistake in his hand sign, Xiao Hua immediately yelled in his heart. Xiao Yuehong also knew that he made a mistake, so he didn't dare to be negligent. He clapped his hand and immediately took out a yellow talisman from his storage bag. Without looking at it, he activated his Fa Li and threw it into the cauldron. Because of Xiao Yuehong's mistake, the cauldron let out a slight crackling sound. Now that it was under the control of the yellow talisman, the crackling sound gradually disappeared and the buzzing sound inside the cauldron also gradually became softer. With a soft sound, the sound of the alchemy furnace stopped abruptly. Ha, great! Xiao Yuehong clapped his hands and said, great achievement. As he spoke, he waved his hand and said with a smile, Mingwei, go collect the pills. Pill collection? Xiao Hua was slightly taken aback as he thought to himself, it seems that there should also be a method to pull and collect pills, right? It could be seen that Gong Mingwei went up as a matter of course. Following Xiao Yuehong's finger, the cauldron's hole opened. Gong Mingwei took out dozens of longan-sized emerald green pills from inside. Master, there are actually 24 pills. Gong Mingwei counted for a moment and said with some surprise, Master's alchemy skills have advanced by leaps and bounds again. I remember that there were only 18 Wutsang pills last time. Is that so? Xiao Yuehong was obviously also taken aback. With a sweep of his divine sense, he understood. He looked back at Xiao Hua and said, this is not Master's credit. It's because the quality of the absorption fruit and black bamboo grass that Xiao Hua found were good. That's why I was able to break through from 18 to 24 pills. Xiao Hua's eyes turned slightly as he asked curiously, Sect Master, why, did you break through 6 pills at once? I'll let you know. In our Dawn Rain continent, alchemy has always been based on 6 pills. It's either 1 or 6 pills. If you go further, it'll be 12 pills, 18 pills, and so on. I heard that when one's alchemy skills have reached the realm of perfection, one can refine 36 pills at once. Master can usually only refine 12 pills. Occasionally, I can refine 18 pills. As for these 24 pills, this is also the first time. Xiao Hua nodded with a slight frown. He felt that alchemy should be based on 9 pills. Gong Mingwei placed the 24 Peiyuan pill into 24 jade bottles and placed them in front of Xiao Yuehong. With a smile on his face, Xiao Yuehong waved his hand and split the bottles into 2. He pointed with his finger and said, Xiao Hua, these 12 Peiyuan pill are yours." Gong Mingwei and the others stared blankly. They had heard Zhang Qingshao mention this before, but they didn't take it seriously. "Sect Master, this won't do. Disciples' cultivation base is shallow. Let senior brother and senior sister take these pills. They need them more than I do." Xiao Hua naturally couldn't accept it and hurriedly waved his hand. "Hee, Xiao Hua, didn't Master say it that day? If you can find the black tusk grass, Master will give you half of the refined Peiyuan pill. Now, this absorption fruit and black tusk grass were found by you. If Master doesn't promise, wouldn't it seem unfair? Disciple doesn't dare. Disciple only hopes that my Shang Huaming will prosper day by day and that all senior brother and senior sister's cultivation base will break through to the foundation establishment realm. As for disciple, I'll only take 2 pills. These 12 Peiyuan pill are really a waste." Xiao Hua said sincerely, "Moreover, even if senior brother and senior sister can't take so many, Sect Master can leave them. Next time, we can exchange them for some spirit stones and the like." Hee, Master must do what he said. Otherwise, it will be detrimental to cultivation. If you don't take it, it will delay Master's cultivation. Xiao Yueheng shook his head and said, "Moreover, the Peiyuan pill just now only used 30% of the spirit grass. If Master wants, I should be able to refine more than 40 Peiyuan pills. Yours are nothing." This. Xiao Hua was a little embarrassed. "Take it, Xiao Hua. You contributed the most this time. You almost lost your life in the 100 Herbs Gate. You deserve it." Gong Mingwei said with a smile. "That's right, don't be so wishy-washy. Master told you to take it, so take it. If you don't want it, just give it to me." Zhang Qingshao also said. "Okay, then disciple thanks Sect Master for the generous gift." Xiao Hua bowed and thanked him. Then, he said to Xiao Xianrui and the others, "If senior sister and senior brother don't have enough Peiyuan pill, just ask me for more." Of course, of course." Xiao Xianrui smiled. She should be able to get 3 Peiyuan pill this time. It should be enough for her to absorb the medicinal power for a long time and increase her magic power. Didn't Xiao Yuehong say that? There was still 70% of the spirit grass that hadn't been used. Once they absorbed the medicinal power of the Peiyuan pill, they could refine the Peiyuan pill. Would they be afraid of not having enough Peiyuan pills? 10 or so Peiyuan pills would be enough to increase her cultivation from the 10th layer of qi refining to the 11th layer of qi refining. Everyone was grinning from ear to ear as they divided the Peiyuan pill. Xiao Yueheng waved his hand and said, "The 100 days of reflection are not up yet. Go back to the tranquil cave and take the Peiyuan pill. Cultivate diligently and strive to enter the 11th layer of qi refining as soon as possible." "Yes, Master." Gong Mingwei and the other 2 saluted. "Xiao Hua, you should also go accompany them. If anything happens while you're taking the Peiyuan pill, tell your senior martial brothers immediately." "Yes." Xiao Hua bowed, but after thinking for a moment, he hesitated and said, "Sect Master, disciple, has something that I don't know if I should say or not." Xiao Yueheng was very happy. He waved his big sleeve and said, "Speak." "It's like this, disciple. Disciple thinks that I know how to refine medicinal pills, but if I really have to refine them, disciple doesn't know how to start. So, disciple earnestly requests Sect Master to let disciple come to the pill room more often in the future." "Oh?" Although Xiao Yuehong's tone sounded surprised, his eyes didn't show the surprise that Xiao Hua had imagined. Xiao Yuehong continued, "You are still young, and your cultivation isn't enough. As for the art of pill refining, you shouldn't know. You've probably seen it before or stayed in the pill room, right? If staying in the pill room reminds you of anything, feel free to come. Thank you for your kindness, Sect Master." Xiao Hua was overjoyed. Xiao Yuehong returned to Mincy Peak, and Xiao Hua followed Gong Mingwei and the others to Lone Staff Peak. Gong Mingwei and the others had been trapped in the 10th layer of the qi refining realm for too long. As soon as they landed, they hastily said a few words to Xiao Hua before entering the Tranquil Heart Cave. They each took out a Peiyuan pill, threw it into their mouths, and closed their eyes to adjust their breathing. Xiao Hua had also taken a Peiyuan pill 2 years ago, so he was very clear about the details. Therefore, he also sat cross-legged on the cliff of Lone Staff Peak. Facing the cold wind, he took out a Peiyuan pill from a jade bottle and looked at the dark green Peiyuan pill against the sunlight. A strong medicinal fragrance assailed his nostrils, and even the cold wind couldn't completely disperse it. Strange, why do I feel that this pill shouldn't have any medicinal fragrance? Xiao Hua was puzzled. If it had a medicinal fragrance, wouldn't the medicinal effects dissipate? Why think so much? It's more important to raise my cultivation. Hurry up and take it. Xiao Hua said self-deprecatingly, then swallowed the Peiyuan pill. As soon as the Peiyuan pill entered his stomach, it immediately turned into a boiling hot current that rushed into Xiao Hua's dantian, then into his meridians. Xiao Hua didn't dare to be negligent. He silently used Shang Huaming's cultivation method to refine the medicinal effects of the Peiyuan pill one by one. Soon, the sun set, and a bright moon hung in the night sky. While Xiao Hua was refining the medicinal effects, the cube-shaped light source in his mind stopped rotating. Waves of fluctuations appeared, and countless strange starlight shot to Xiao Hua's side. While the light source absorbed the starlight, Xiao Hua's bones, flesh, and meridians also absorbed the strange starlight. Although this starlight couldn't be refined by Shang Huaming's cultivation method, it was mixed with the medicinal effects of the Peiyuan pill and mixed into Xiao Hua's meridians. Late at night, just as Xiao Hua was closing his eyes to cultivate, Xiao Yuehong silently appeared with the flying boat not far from the Tranquil Heart Cave. Xiao Yuehong quietly looked at Xiao Hua for a long time, then used his divine sense to check the situation of the 3 people in the Tranquil Heart Cave. Only then did he start the flying boat and silently glide away. The sun rose from the east, and the first rays of sunlight shone on Xiao Hua's body. Xiao Hua suddenly opened his eyes. His eyes were empty and lifeless, as if there was a flame burning within. When the sunlight flashed in his eyes, they finally regained their color, and gradually showed signs of life. A Peiyuan pill, as expected, it's not enough. It feels like a cup of water on a burning cart of firewood. Xiao Hua checked his cultivation level and was a little disappointed. However, there was also a trace of anticipation in his heart. The medicinal strength of 1 Peiyuan Dan should be equivalent to the Fa Li that I trained hard for the past year. I wonder how many Peiyuan Dan will be able to raise my cultivation level to the 2nd layer of qi refining. If you like this work, you are welcome to come to Qidian.com to vote for it. Chapter 1264. I still have a lot of Peiyuan pill left from the left and right sect heads. There's no harm in giving it a try. Xiao Hua thought to himself. Without the slightest hesitation, he brushed his hand next to his ear and took out a Peiyuan pill from the space behind his head. He stood up and walked towards the tranquil cave. Seeing that there wasn't any movement inside, he assumed that his senior martial brothers and senior martial sisters had sped up the process of refining the Peiyuan pill. But just as Xiao Hua turned around and sat down in front of the cliff, about to put the 2nd Peiyuan pill into his mouth, he suddenly realized something. I refined the medicinal strength of the Peiyuan pill myself. It only took me half a day and 1 night. Senior martial brothers and senior martial brothers, for some reason, haven't refined it yet? Soon after, he returned to the tranquil cave. When he saw Gong Mingwei and the other 2 with his own eyes, they didn't look surprised or happy at all. It was a clear sign that they were refining the medicinal strength of the pill. Xiao Hua scratched his chin. He already understood. Senior martial brothers are really. I'm afraid they've already taken the 2nd or 3rd Peiyuan pill, right? Because of this, Xiao Hua calmly sat down and started refining the 2nd Peiyuan pill. At noon, Xiao Yuehong's flying boat reappeared. Standing on the boat, Xiao Yuehong's expression was a bit doubtful and he was also frowning. He knew that with the cultivation levels of his 3 disciples, refining a single Peiyuan pill definitely wouldn't take them that long. 3 Peiyuan pills were enough to push their transcendence energy to the peak of the 10th layer of the aura refining realm. If they wanted to reach the 11th layer of the aura refining realm, they'd need another 3 or 6 Peiyuan pills. However, on the one hand, he'd already agreed to leave half of the Peiyuan pill to Xiao Hua. On the other hand, he also wanted his 3 disciples to stop at the peak of the 10th layer of the aura refining realm for a while. That way, they'd be able to safely advance to the next realm. Given Gong Mingwei and the others' cultivation levels and knowledge, they should have understood Xiao Yuehong's intentions. Therefore, after taking 1 Peiyuan pill, they wouldn't immediately take the second one. But now, from the looks of it, they were already refining the second Peiyuan pill. Why are these kids still so impatient? Sometimes, staying in the same realm for a while longer isn't a bad thing. Xiao Yuehong glanced at Xiao Hua. He had already sensed that his cultivation was still at the first layer of the aura refining realm, but there was nothing strange about it. He formed an incantation gesture and urged his magic power to return to Minushi Peak. For 3 days in a row, Xiao Hua took a Peiyuan pill every day. The transcendence energy in his body was equivalent to 3 years of cultivation in the past, but his cultivation level was still stuck at the first level of the aura refining realm. However, Xiao Hua could already feel that it wasn't that his cultivation level hadn't moved. It really was slowly moving forward under the push of the Peiyuan pill's medicinal power. This discovery had already made Xiao Hua extremely happy. This meant that the method of taking pills was still useful to him. Compared to his previous blind cultivation where he couldn't find a direction, it was much better. Master, Master. Just as Xiao Hua was about to take the 4th Peiyuan pill, a loud shout came from the tranquil cave. Wasn't that Zhang Qingxiao's cry of surprise? Without waiting for Xiao Hua to turn around, 3 figures had already flown out of the cave and headed straight for Minushi Peak. What happened? Xiao Hua had just started to ask, but he was immediately overjoyed. Was there even a need to ask? Zhang Qingxiao must have broken through to the 11th layer of the aura refining realm. Otherwise, how could she have lost her composure like this? Let's go quickly. This is a rare good thing that happened to Hua Ming in the past 3 years. Xiao Hua also had a smile on his face. He used a flight talisman and flew towards Minushi Peak. Sure enough, just as Xiao Hua arrived at Minushi Peak, he saw Zhang Qingxiao beaming with joy as she gestured and explained to Xiao Yuehong. Xiao Hua beamed as he watched everyone's jubilation and silently landed beside them. After Zhang Qingxiao finished speaking, Xiao Yuehong scolded with a smile, "Look at you, second brother. Why don't you have the bearing of a high-level aura refining cultivator? Foundation establishment is already in sight, yet you're still so frivolous? Master already knew about your cultivation levels when you arrived at Minushi Peak. Moreover, it's not like you haven't advanced before." But, Master. Only now did Zhang Qingxiao come to her senses. She had been talking for a long time, but she didn't seem to have said the key point. But without waiting for her to speak, Xiao Yuehong continued as if he was scolding Xiao Xianrui. You used 3 Peiyuan pill to advance to the 11th layer of the aura refining realm. It's enough to show that you didn't cultivate very hard together. If you put enough effort into it, 1 pill would be enough. These words were naturally different from what he thought in his heart. He didn't expect that 3 Peiyuan pills would be able to raise the cultivation levels of his 3 disciples to the 11th layer of the aura refining realm. However, words were just to spur them on, so he really couldn't say it out loud. "Ah, Master." Zhang Qingxiao said very exaggeratedly, "So you know that I cultivate very hard on a daily basis." "What do you cultivate hard on?" "Clean." Xiao Yuehong said casually, but before he could finish speaking, he suddenly came to a realization. "What? You only refined 1 Peiyuan pill, and you broke through to the 11th layer of the aura refining realm?" Yes, father. Xiao Xianrui also said with a smile on her face, it's precisely because we only used one Peiyuan pill to break through to the 11th layer of the aura refining realm that we were so surprised that we came to report it to father. How is this possible? Xiao Yuehong shook his head like a rattledrum. Master goes to see you every noon. How did it take you 3 days to refine one Peiyuan pill? Master, I don't know either. I only feel that there's something very special in this Peiyuan pill that's very useful for raising the cultivation level. However, this thing is extremely difficult to refine. I also spent 3 days of hard work to refine it. But the result of refining this thing is that the 3 of us stepped into the 11th layer of the aura refining realm at the same time. Gong Mingwei said with a smile. Give me one of your Peiyuan pills. Xiao Yuehong's face was full of surprise. He took the Peiyuan pill from Xiao Xianrui and released his divine sense. Unfortunately, after looking at it for a long time, he still couldn't see what was so special about this Peiyuan pill. Father, why don't you take one too? Won't you know what it is then? Xiao Xianrui suggested. Xiao Yuehong's expression changed, but then he shook his head and handed the Peiyuan pill to Xiao Xianrui. If one Peiyuan pill can send you to the 11th layer of the aura refining realm, then these 2 Peiyuan pills should be able to bring you to the peak of the 11th layer. How can Master take them from you? Oh right, Xiao Hua, your senior brother and sister have made such great progress. Have you already reached the 3rd layer of the aura refining realm? As soon as these words came out, everyone turned around and looked at Xiao Hua, who was standing behind them. At this time, Xiao Hua's face and ears were already red. In a flurry, he took out the 2 jade bottles that he had taken out in advance from his bosom and said pitifully, Sect leader, you used disciples Peiyuan Dan, try it. Seeing Xiao Hua like this, Xiao Yuehong was a bit puzzled. He asked, Xiao Hua, you took a Peiyuan pill, but you only reached the 2nd layer of the aura refining realm? This. Xiao Hua's face turned purple, and the hand he used to hand over the Peiyuan pill slightly retracted. Looking at the 4 people's concerned eyes, he said with a sobbing voice, Disciple is still in the 1st layer of the aura refining realm. Oh, it's okay. Xiao Yuehong comforted Xiao Hua. Your progress has always been slow, so it's just as Master expected. Just take a few more pills. Master doesn't want these 2 anymore. But Disciple has already taken 3 Peiyuan pills. Xiao Hua took a deep breath and finally said it. Of course, the 3 seniors only used 1 Peiyuan pill to go from the 10th layer of the aura refining realm to the 11th layer of the aura refining realm. While he took 3 in succession, he was still in the 1st layer of the aura refining realm. This really can't be explained. Even Xiao Hua himself felt that taking the Peiyuan pill was a waste. Xiao Yuehong was speechless, Gong Mingwei was speechless, Zhang Qingxiao was speechless, Xiao Xianrui was speechless. After a long time, Zhang Qingxiao patted Xiao Hua's shoulder and said with a serious expression, Little junior brother. You are really amazing. 2nd senior brother is convinced by you. 2nd brother. Xiao Yuehong scolded, Xiao Hua, this is called a natural talent. Afterwards, he comforted Xiao Hua, it doesn't matter, Xiao Hua. You were the one who found the spiritual plants for these spiritualizing pills. Since you've taken 3 pills, it's useless, so take 9 more. Master wants to see how many spiritualizing pills you'll need to take in order to reach the 2nd layer of the Qi refining realm. Oh, that's right. You've taken 3 energy cultivation pills. Has your cultivation improved? Is there anything strange in this Peiyuan pill that your eldest senior brother and the others talked about? Reporting to Sect Master, Disciple's cultivation has made progress. 1 Peiyuan pill is equivalent to a year of bitter cultivation. It's just that Disciple didn't notice the strange thing that the senior brothers talked about. Xiao Hua said honestly. If you didn't, then you didn't. Master will start refining pills and continue to refine 24 Peiyuan pills. It will let your cultivation progress again. Xiao Yuehong said heroically. He seemed to have seen Shang Huaming's beautiful future just like Xiao Hua 2 days ago. Yes, master. Disciples will go prepare now. Gong Mingwei said with a grin. There's no need. Don't you all still have Peiyuan pills on you? Go refine them. Xiao Yuehong waved his hand and said, even Xiao Hua doesn't need to come. You and your senior brothers are the same. Go cultivate. The things in the pill room haven't been tidied up yet. Master will refine the pills himself. Yes, Master. Gong Mingwei and the other two bowed. Their hearts were burning with passion. After all, they hadn't made any progress in their cultivation for many years. They weren't willing to let go of such a good opportunity. Sect Master, you really don't want it? Xiao Hua didn't take back the Peiyuan pill and asked. There's no need. You take it. Master will be able to refine some more soon. Xiao Yuehong said with a smile, you all go quickly. Wait for Master to refine the pills. I hope you can make further progress. After saying that, he waved his hand and a flying boat appeared in front of them. Xiao Yuehong stepped in and flew directly to the pill room on Shihua Peak. Let's go, Xiao Hua. Zhang Qingxiao pulled on Xiao Hua's sleeve and said in a low voice, if you don't take it, then these 2 pills, what are you talking about? Gong Mingwei scolded, this is Xiao Hua's Peiyuan pill. Master doesn't want it. What are you planning? Zhang Qingxiao said with a sullen face, little junior brother won't have any effect after taking it. It's better to let me take advantage of it. Chapter 1265. How do you know it's ineffective for Xiao Hua? Didn't he say it just now? He's improved, but it's less than us. Maybe it's because his body is different from ours. Xiao Xianrui said. What's the difference? Aren't we all made of flesh and blood? Zhang Qingxiao said disdainfully. However, he didn't dare to go against Gong Mingwei's wishes, so he could only give up on the idea of asking for the Peiyuan pill. Actually, it's fine. Senior martial brother, I have a lot of Peiyuan pill here. After you refine the 2 Peiyuan pills in a few days, if you don't have enough, just ask me. I'm right in front of the tranquil cave. Xiao Hua said sincerely. He really wanted to see the smiles on his senior martial brother and sister's faces. Okay, it's a deal. Xiao Xianrui smiled. After I finish my 2 Peiyuan pills, I'll ask you for more. Gong Mingwei also nodded. He knew very well that refining 2 Peiyuan pills would take 6 to 7 days. This was also the time when his master would refine the Peiyuan pill. When that time came, there would be a new Peiyuan pill. The Peiyuan pill in Xiao Hua's hands, they wouldn't be able to use it. Xiao Hua nodded happily and followed them back to Lone Staff Peak. In the following 6 days, Xiao Hua didn't see the 3 of them come out of the tranquil cave. Every day, before he took the Peiyuan pill, he would go to the tranquil cave to take a look. However, Gong Mingwei and the others were still cultivating, so he didn't dare disturb them. As for Xiao Hua himself, his magic power was increasing day by day, and his cultivation level was also slowly increasing. However, after taking 6 Peiyuan pills in succession, he still hadn't broken through to the second layer of qi refining. It was already the 7th day, the day Xiao Yuehong collected the second batch of Peiyuan pill. Seeing that Gong Mingwei and the others were still cultivating, Xiao Hua flew into the pill room. At this time, Xiao Yuehong was sitting cross-legged in front of the pill furnace. Sensing Xiao Hua's arrival, he asked warmly, where are your senior martial brothers? Haven't they come out of seclusion yet? Sect Master, senior martial brothers, they're still cultivating. I don't know when they'll come out. What about you? Xiao Yuehong's voice became even gentler. Disciple is still at the first level of aura refining. Xiao Hua was somewhat dispirited. It doesn't matter. Counting with my fingers, you've already taken 9 Peiyuan pills. In any case, the Peiyuan pill won't be ready today. It should be ready at this time tomorrow. Go back and take another one. Come with your senior brothers tomorrow. Thinking about how he only had 3 of the 12 Peiyuan pill left, Xiaohua couldn't help but sigh. Disciple, it's better for me to stay in the pill room and serve the sect master. Xiao Yuehong shook his head. It doesn't matter who attends in the pill room. If you don't want to change the title of sect leader to master, then stay here. Then, he closed his eyes and adjusted his breathing, no longer paying attention to Xiaohua. Xiaohua stood there blankly for a long time. He knew Xiao Yuehong's painstaking efforts, so he clenched his teeth, turned around and flew back to Lone Staff Peak. As before, he sat cross-legged. Without any hesitation, he threw the Peiyuan pill into his mouth. Then, he activated his heart technique and strove to refine the Peiyuan pill's medicinal power. After an unknown amount of time, the true qi in his meridians suddenly sped up. It was no longer the same as before. Xiaohua's heart skipped a beat. He had a premonition. Just as he was about to urge his true qi to break through, he heard a familiar voice in his ear. How many more Peiyuan pills are there? Take them all. Xiaohua slightly opened his eyes. In front of him was Zhang Qingxiao's concerned expression. He was just about to speak when he heard Zhang Qingxiao berate him. What are you still hesitating for? Hurry, this is the time for you to break through. Xiaohua's heart trembled. He didn't dare to be negligent. He reached into his bosom and took out the last 2 Peiyuan pills. As soon as the Peiyuan pill entered his mouth, it immediately turned into a strand of liquid. In an instant, that liquid transformed into a scalding warm current that rushed into his meridians. It was precisely the spiritual energy of heaven and earth contained within the 2 Peiyuan pills. The medicinal power of the Peiyuan pill rushed into Xiaohua's meridians, adding fuel to the fire in his already accelerated true qi. The medicinal power combined with his true qi directly rushed towards the barrier of the first layer of the aura refining realm. It was like a huge wave crashing against the shore. After a few repetitions, just as the medicinal power was about to be exhausted, a light qi sound rang out. It was as if in Xiaohua's mind, the true qi in his meridians was like tearing through a layer of paper, breaking through the barrier of the first layer of the aura refining realm. All of the true qi was like mercury, cheerfully flowing into his new meridians. Second layer of the aura refining realm. Xiaohua muttered. He couldn't help but feel extremely bitter in his heart. These are 12 Peiyuan pills. It's equivalent to 12 years of my bitter cultivation. Others can break through to the first layer of the aura refining realm in a year and a half, but I actually had to cultivate for 12 years to reach it. Congratulations, little junior brother. Congratulations, little junior brother. Seeing Xiaohua break through to the first layer of the aura refining realm, Zhang Qingxiao acted as if she had also broken through to the next layer. Her smile was as brilliant as a flower. After the true qi slowly flowed through his new meridians and gradually adapted to it, Xiaohua stood up and said with a bitter smile, "Second senior brother, don't make fun of little brother. What's there to congratulate?" "Ha ha ha, of course there is. I thought you'd be stuck at the first layer of the aura refining realm for your entire life. I didn't expect you to break through to the second layer of the aura refining realm in my lifetime. You've really given me a feast for the eyes. Of course I have to congratulate you." Xiaohua didn't know whether to laugh or cry. "Let's go. Eldest senior brother and junior sister have already gone to the pill room. Master is probably also waiting for you." Zhang Qingxiao used her arts and flew up. Xiaohua followed behind her. "Right, second senior brother, have you reached the peak of the aura refining realm?" Xiaohua asked with concern. How could it be that simple? Zhang Qingxiao shook her head and said, "We've just broken through to the 11th layer of the aura refining realm. How could 2 mere Peiyuan pills help us improve so much? We've only reached the early stage of the 11th layer of the aura refining realm." Ha, congratulations, second senior brother. I heard that in the late stage of the aura refining realm, every step forward is extremely difficult. Second senior brother was able to break through to the early stage of the 11th layer in only 7 days. It's really gratifying. Although Zhang Qingxiao said it wasn't a big deal, there was still a smile on her face. I'm still just a so-so. Eldest senior brother has reached the middle stage of the 11th layer. If master can refine another 24 Peiyuan pills, maybe eldest senior brother really will break through to the 12th layer of the aura refining realm. As the two of them spoke, they arrived at the pill refining room. Inside, Xiao Yuehong was sitting cross-legged while Gong Mingwei and Xiao Xianrui stood beside him. Master, Master, Xiao Hua broke through. Before they even entered the pill refining room, Zhang Qingxiao shouted loudly. Ha, congratulations little junior brother, congratulations little junior brother. Gong Mingwei and Xiao Xianrui said with the same tone as Zhang Qingxiao. During this time, Xiao Hua had already understood that although his path of cultivation was much more difficult than others, he now saw hope. As long as he had a direction, he only needed to follow this direction step by step. In the past, he couldn't even see the shadow of his senior brother and senior sister on the path of cultivation. Now, as long as he cultivated steadily, he would be able to see their backs sooner or later. Therefore, Xiao Hua no longer felt depressed. He smiled and cupped his hands in return, saying, congratulations to you too. Humph, it's only the 2nd layer of the aura refining realm. What's there to be proud of? Xiao Yuehong said unhappily. How many Peiyuan pills did you take? Sect master, disciple took all 12 Peiyuan pills. Xiao Hua muttered. Isn't that right? You took all the Peiyuan pills and only reached the 2nd layer of the aura refining realm. What's there to be proud of? If it was someone else, not to mention someone else, even your 2 senior brothers, if they took the 12 Peiyuan pills that year, their cultivation would have already reached the foundation establishment realm. Father. Xiao Yuehong's words were too ruthless. Xiao Xianrui couldn't help but stop him. Xiao Hua finally made progress. Everyone should be happy, right? Don't always pour cold water on them. Disciple understands, sect master. Disciple is definitely not proud. Xiao Hua said with a smile. Disciple just felt that he saw the dawn of cultivation and was somewhat happy in his heart. That's good. Xiao Yuehong threw away the seriousness on his face and said with a smile, it's good that you know your shortcomings. The heavenly Tao rewards the diligent. As long as you work hard, the heavenly Tao above us is watching. The heavenly Tao? Xiao Hua was shocked. It seemed that the heavenly Tao was very familiar to him. What's wrong now? Xiao Yuehong asked curiously. He didn't know what he said wrong. Nothing. Sect master, how is the Peiyuan pill that you refined? Xiao Hua came back to his senses and asked. AI, it's not as good as the last time. Xiao Yuehong's face was somewhat regretful. He pointed to some jade bottles on the ground and said, this time, I only refined 18 Peiyuan pills. It's 1 grade lower than the 24 pills last time. Only 17 Peiyuan pills? Xiao Hua looked at them and couldn't help but be slightly surprised. Moreover, before you all came out of seclusion, I already took one. It seems, there wasn't the strange thing that you all were talking about. Xiao Yuehong continued, in the past few days, when you were refining the Peiyuan pill, did you encounter it again? Yes. Master, in the past few days, the Peiyuan pill was also difficult to refine. Disciple spent a lot of effort to refine those things. Zhang Qingxiao said. That's strange. How come you all could sense it, but I couldn't? Xiao Yuehong frowned slightly. He waved his hand, and a Peiyuan pill stopped in front of each of Xiao Hua and the others. Each of you will take 1 Peiyuan pill and refine it again. See if there's any difference from the last time. Yes, master. Gong Mingwei and the other 2 said in unison. No, sect master. This was Xiao Hua's voice. Why? Xiao Yuehong asked curiously. Disciple used 12 Peiyuan pills to advance from the first layer to the second layer of qi refining. Wouldn't it take 24, or even 36 Peiyuan pills to advance from the second layer of qi refining to the third layer of qi refining? Sect Master, you should keep this pill. It would be a waste for disciple to use it. No matter, many a little makes a mickle. Moreover, this time you're helping me test the medicinal properties of the pills. All 4 of you have a share. Xiao Yuehong waved his hand and smiled. The 4 of them took the pills and flew back to Lone Staff Peak. In less than half a day, the 4 of them returned to the pill room. What's wrong? There really isn't any of the strange things contained in the pills from last time? Seeing the 4 of them return at the same time, Xiao Yuehong couldn't be bothered to ask Xiao Hua why he refined the pills so quickly. Yes, Master. The Peiyuan pill disciple refined this time is the same as the Peiyuan pill disciple refined several years ago. Gong Mingwei said respectfully, the effects are far inferior to the one disciple took a few days ago. You're tuning into the Dreamy Chapters YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.